Teaching people how to study.
There's so many people who are struggling with learning because you never get taught how to learn. Whether you're like 40 or 50 or 60, they come to me like, I've never learned how to learn in my life, so can you teach me?
Today's guest is Tom Vorselen, better known as the Study Coach. From coaching students in over 40 countries to helping thousands beat procrastination, manage stress, and actually enjoy learning again, Tom has become one of the most trusted academic mentors on the internet.
What are the sort of practical applications of the things you've learned that will help you? Is it different for the business side of things?
First thing is dealing with the procrastinations.
Amen.
The second thing is
25 below right now. They're struggling way more with attention spans.
Yes.
And structuring their days because their days are interrupted every minute with notification, with bings, with shit that pops up on the screen.
Who's responsible for that?
Yeah, us. Yeah. I'm rubbing this in the face of my parents all the time because they're like, oh, gaming is ruining your brain. I'm like, I'm making millions with the shit I learned from gaming.
My students with ADHD are the best students I have. They score the best grades, they improve their time management, they reduce their ADHD medications. So I'm just going to share anything I know from experience and me working with the students, right?
Yeah.
What they mainly miss is...
So because the thing is, like if people are fans of yours, right? Mm-hmm. They know you, they follow you on Instagram, they follow you YouTube, they're maybe even your clients. I want them to be like, wow, it's like I'm sitting there at the table with Tom and we're checking stuff out and I'm having a conversation with him.
Exactly.
I don't want it to be like, hello, today we have our guest. It's not a stupid show, you know, with like stupid people in the TV studio and shit like that.
No.
We're swearing, we're talking shit, we're having a good time. And we're also getting to know the deeper thing behind it.
Yeah, eventually I think it is indeed nice to have some background information about the people who we're talking to. Like I said, it's not a random dude from the internet who's going to tell something about his life. And like, I think there's a reason why I'm sitting here all the way in Vienna from Amsterdam.
You flew in, man.
So
appreciate
like, yeah, I think it's showing that this is kind of like a big thing, a serious thing. People follow you, they find you credible. People follow me because they find me credible. And, and that's why we're here. And
I appreciate you flying in, man. That's really, really epic.
It was kind of like, I saw it as an investment, right? So this is how I look at these kind of things.
100%.
If I can talk with people in a space that I can learn from, and as well as we talked about in the cab, like the network, how you're just a couple people away from, you never know what. I was like, okay, for me, is it worth it to fly over for 1.5 hours, fly back home the next day to meet with someone who can potentially teach me something, but I can also like teach your audience something. So yeah,
it's
I was
always
like,
worth
why not do it?
Amen to that. I did a whole podcast tour in last year, September, October. Just 6 weeks of traveling nonstop. I did 20 podcasts or something, which is pretty crazy. And like, if you really rack up the costs, people don't know, like if you rack up the costs of an operation like that, 30, 40K, easy. And I did it on easy mode too. Like, I didn't travel all flights, business class, just some of them. I didn't always go to restaurants every day. Like, I always prefer staying in Airbnbs. I travel with my own pan. I have a frying pan for steak. So I would just go to the store, just load up on steaks for the days that I'm in that city and just cook my morning steak. Yeah. So things like that. But if you just go full on baller lifestyle like I used to do, it can cost even more. It can cost double. If you go restaurants twice a day, exactly. You travel everywhere like super baller. So I thank God I got that out of my system in my 20s. Yeah. Now I'm a little bit more conservative. But dude, how did you start? How did you get into your niche? You're teaching people how to study better.
Yes.
How the hell were you good at school, or were you actually super bad at school?
I was not that good.
Interesting.
So indeed, I will give a bit of a background such that people know what I'm doing. So I'm indeed a study coach. So I help people with scientifically proven learning methods, time management skills, but also a lot of mindset behind procrastination. So the science behind procrastination and how to deal with that to make sure that they just learn more efficiently and effectively. So I'll teach people how to learn things faster. And that was actually because in my high school, I was the most average student. I was just playing soccer, playing video games the whole day. Then I would come home, like do 1 hour of homework and I barely scraped my grades.
Yeah.
Then in my bachelor, I did anatomy and physiology and all like Latin
no shit.
courses. I failed them.
Oh,
So that's why my parents said like, hey, we see that you're actually working really hard, but you're not learning the things that you should, and we don't want to see you fail. So they hired me like a learning coach. And we're talking here about like 10 years ago. He was at my place teaching us the science behind learning. And since then, I never had a retake in my life. And even doing like other courses, I see that I get way more out of the course because I'm able to kind of like process and learn things faster. So I think right now it's still like in my business, I'm seeing faster progress because I consume information on a different basis and I process it differently, and therefore I implement it differently. So that's a cool thing. And yeah, like there's so many people who are struggling with learning because you never get taught how to learn. Whether you're like 40 or 50 or 60, I have people 58. They come to me like, I've never learned how to learn in my life. So can you teach me? So a bit of background. I failed. I learned, and now I'm teaching others how to do it.
That is so sick. I've never had a problem with learning. I think here's the thing. I don't think I'm. ChatGPT knows me. I've been working with my personal ChatGPT for over a year now, and I once asked it, based on all the information, all my input so far, what would it guess my IQ to be?
Okay.
And it said it guesses my IQ between 120 and 140 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's above average, just based on the questions that I'm asking. So I don't know about that, but I've never had a problem with learning and retaining information. For me, it was only... Here's the thing. I've had many friends of mine that are way better at problem solving, but because of the school system, at least in Austria, where I grew up in, that never mattered. The only thing that really mattered for good grades is how well can you memorize.
Recall. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was really good at that. I would just memorize everything. I would just like memorize 50 pages of the biology book. Then I would read the question on the exam and I would know the exact answer just word by word. Yeah. I would like memorize everything. But that doesn't really do much outside of school.
No.
So when you say you learned how to study, you learned how to learn, what is it that you're training? Your knowledge retention or your problem solving skills, or what is it?
Yeah, good question. And it's a combination of both. So basically when we look at the principles of learning, you have indeed like a couple of layers: remembering, understanding, applying, evaluating, analyzing, and creating new information. And a lot of educational systems are based on the remembering and the understanding. So this is how you probably got tested. Indeed, like, can you remember the fact? Can you remember this? But what the most people struggle with is, first of all, to remember and recall information over a longer time. So remembering and understanding. But then a lot of people in the European system, so especially the Netherlands, Germany, UK, they're being challenged more on, can you apply or evaluate the information? So then you need to get into the problem solving skills, as you mentioned. And that is a different way of thinking, which can be trained by practice, but that is a skill that a lot of people don't have necessarily from their way of learning usually. So we literally teach them like, okay, you can take this step, you can take this step to improve your problem solving skills. So it's learning how to learn in different layers of the concept.
So when you say you're also, as a business owner, you're of course still profiting from that skill set when you're buying mentorings, courses, and so on and so forth. What are the sort of practical applications of the things you've learned that will help you there? Is it the retaining of the knowledge, the application, all the things that you mentioned now? Is it different for the business side of things?
Yeah. I would say like I'll just give you an example of how I think I still applied it in like my business, right? First thing is indeed dealing with the procrastination, so not procrastinating on things.
Amen.
The second thing is, when I first got into business, I was learning about how to create content, how to do enrollment calls with new potential students, and me just showing up in those calls from my trainers, like I was sitting there with a different intention to literally learn, and then I would grab all that content and I would literally have kind of like the script or the flow of a conversation in my head running while I was traveling to my back then work, and like I was recalling it and practice it in my head, and that helped me to learn and understand all these things better. Then I applied it to as many people as possible. I jumped on as many calls as possible, because then practice becomes perfection. And I think doing this in all different areas of my business is helping me to move faster, like so much. So
are there, what I've noticed working with many people, especially young folks that are coming into my programs, what I notice a lot is they're missing the structure of their day-to-day tasks. This is something, how old are you now?
26.
Damn, man, you're crushing it. You're so sick. At 26, you're already crushing it. But okay, so we're like roughly the same generation of 34. I feel like really like 25 below right now, they're struggling way more with attention spans.
Yes.
And structuring their days, because their days are interrupted every minute with notification, with bings, with shit that pops up on the screen. Who's
responsible for that?
Yeah, us. Yeah. Amen to that. We're on the good side. We're on the creative side on that. But the thing is, like, I didn't have that when I grew up. There was no fucking notifications. I didn't have a laptop. I had a PC. You know, to open, but there was no notifications yet. There was nothing. Maximum like a Skype message or something like that.
Yeah, MSN.
And what?
MSN?
Yeah, MSN. Yeah. Holy shit, MSN, yeah. Or ICQ. Do you remember ICQ?
Yeah.
Do you still have that?
ICQ?
Dude, ICQ, MSN, and then there was the gaming thing, Xfire, I think it was called.
You're a huge gamer, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that everything that you've learned from gaming
100%.
is now implemented in how you run business?
100%. I'm rubbing this in the face of my parents all the time, because they're like, "Oh, gaming is ruining your brain," and I'm making millions with the shit I learned from gaming.
Exactly.
And they were the old school parents. They're like, go outside, maximum 30 minutes a day. Nowadays, I hire people based on their gaming experience. One of our head coaches, Roberto, I keep talking about him. Shout out. He's an ex-pro gamer.
Yeah.
I think it was Dota or something.
Okay.
I'm not making this up. But when I got his application, I just read the first two lines of his CV that said ex-pro gamer. I'm like, this guy's hired.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anything else.
Yeah.
I know, because to answer your question, you learn, if you play on a professional level, it depends what you play. If you play whatever, the Sims, and you just cheat code to build an awesome house for 14 hours, that's not going to teach you much. Probably not. But if you teach any sort of RTS games, any sort of team first-person shooters like Counter-Strike that I used to play semi-professional, actually with the Viennese clan here, and these type of things teach you teamwork, leadership, structure, especially real-time strategy games like Command and Conquer, StarCraft. I have a lot of Dota players, League of Legends players as clients. That shit teaches you economic management, structures, prioritization, also problem solving.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to get towards.
Yeah,
like,
love it.
I still tell my students, like, hey, do something like games.
Love it.
Because it engages your brain in a different way and into a problem-solving
Okay,
thing.
so sorry to interrupt you. Just to have people understand this. This is going to be a headline, okay? Study coach tells his clients to play video games.
Yeah. Like, I play occasional video games, right? Like,
So good.
the other day, I was like, oh, man, I want to do something with my spare time, so I bought a new Pokemon again, where it's like you have to solve the problems in the cities, and you have to talk to every person, and you have to memorize, like, oh, I have to go to this city next, then I have to level up my characters, which requires you to grind, which is
grinding.
the same with the business, like, just do the same thing over and over and over. Same with learning something, like, do the same thing over and over and over to get to the next level and to beat the new boss. Yeah. And that is what whole life is about, in my opinion.
It's grinding.
It's like
so true.
How every facet comes back into different areas. So
I had this
was so funny.
I love that we talk about video games. This is so good because again, like, we grew up with a whole generation of parents telling us that video games are bad. And now it turns out that, like, all these CEOs, Elon Musk, he's fucking top 10 players in Diablo or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like insane.
Where does he get the time from, though?
I know. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what you said. It teaches you the problem solving. It teaches you to make decisions under pressure, especially if you play StarCraft, right? So if you watch StarCraft pro players, they have like between 150 and 300 actions per minute. All right?
Insane.
An action is like a click of a button. So they just click non-stop buttons, basically. And the thing is, when you play pro games, you're one human being with just 2 arms. But so, for example, you're launching an attack on the enemy base. At the same time, you have to manage your economy in the base. At the same time, your enemy attacks you on 2 different sides. So now you're doing 4 things at the same time. You're managing your attack. You're defending 2 attacks at home. Plus, you're managing your economy. So you're thinking extreme short term, you're thinking midterm, and you're thinking long term. There's all these layers of thinking. Now you extrapolate that on a business concept, it's exactly the same. Mm-hmm. You have the attack on the enemy base, which is probably marketing or sales, right?
Yep.
You need to make sure that you're making sales right now, because that's the oxygen of your business. At the same time, you need to do long-term thinking, saying, okay, if we're going to go aggressive this month, we're going to get this many clients in. If you do high-ticket mentoring, where you're actually not just selling a video course, but you're also consulting people, you're talking to clients, you have a certain amount of back-end structures that need to hold a certain amount of clients. So when you say, okay, if we go aggressive, we can get 50 new clients this month, ergo, I need this much support staff, this many live calls, this many one-on-one calls, this much space on our calendar. So you're thinking there. That's kind of like midterm. Then you're thinking long-term, if we keep scaling like this, if we keep having a ROAS, return of ad spend of like 4x, 5x, we're going to grow the company, which means on average per month, we're going to get a 30% increase of clients, meaning I need to hire enough people to cover that. And within the next 8 weeks, we're going to be 2 staff members short. Knowing that we hire about 0.5 to 1% of all applications that want to work with us, I need to interview so and so many people until that time, meaning I need to have this much time on my calendar every day next to my sales calls to ensure that we're still going to have enough staff. So stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's and that's assuming that nothing goes wrong.
Exactly.
Which there is always things that do go wrong.
Exactly.
So then you're like, I got this. I got a perfect plan. Oh, but this shit happened. This guy quit. This client needs extra help. This sales procedure doesn't work. The marketing campaign needs to be reshot.
Yeah.
So now you're just taking out fires. It's like your enemy launches surprise attacks and you have to handle that. And it's all under pressure. And then at the same time, it's 6 p.m., your girlfriend comes home and wants to have dinner with you.
Together.
And you're like, God damn it. And now you're having dinner with her and she's telling you about her day. And in your head, you're like, gotta launch an attack there. I gotta defend over there. And she's like,
that's true.
Babe, are you listening? And you're like, I am. But like, it's hard to fucking separate that. But I wouldn't want to change it for the world. It's the best thing in the world. It's fun. It's challenging. And then when I want to have time off, so I want to talk to you about this too, time off. But when I want to have time off, I'm like, I'm going to take a month off. Then I take 2 days off and I get fucking bored.
Yeah.
Because your brain is so wired that it needs to be challenged. It's almost like a running dog that needs to run every day.
Yeah, and this is an interesting factor, right? Because people always talk about, hey, if you work so much, you'll get burned out, and all that. One of my mentors, who I mentioned already in the cab as well, Rob Dial,
Shout out.
He told me, you get burned out because you're not doing enough of the things that you enjoy. Because just imagine that you go into a job or you're doing a studies that takes all of your energy on a daily basis. Yes, you're going to be exhausted. Yes, you don't get energy from it. If you're doing something that you absolutely love, whether that's running a business, whether that's playing video games, and you can wake up at 6, do that the whole day and do that for like 30 days in a row, then I think you found something that you enjoy doing that gives you energy. So then talking about days off, like I've been in a huge kind of like dilemma where it's like, okay, how many days do I take off? Because I've worked for 7 days, and then after 3 months, I would literally also be exhausted. So then I told my mentor, I was like, hey, this is not good. Then I worked together with someone, and he incentivized me to like take 2 days off. And then I was like on the second day off, like 1 day, perfect. Like do something fun with family, friends, and girlfriend. Then on the other day, it was a Wednesday. I was like, what am I going to do? And I still started opening up my laptop and still doing things, because it's like, I just want to play the game. And you can call it addiction, but I say rather like be addicted to helping people and serving than to anything that's really bad for you. So it's a difficult one, because I do believe that indeed rest, it recharges, it helps you to also get new ideas. Like when I have rest days, I actually come up with the best ideas for my business, because I'm not thinking in the business.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, my mind has just free flow to go anywhere. Plus it is like for just your physique and mentally it's good.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to find that. Yeah, I don't believe in the word balance, but it is hard to find the balance. So how many days do you take off? How many days do you work? So yeah,
that it's exactly that. It's what it's been for me. It's like I have developed a good feeling. I understand what feels good for me and what doesn't. I used to just push no matter what. Now I'm more like, if I feel like working hard, I don't care. I'll knock out 16 hours. But then if I wake up one day and I'm like, brain fog, I feel weird, unless I have some crazy project that I need to finish, I'm like, oh, I'll take a day off then. Fuck it.
Exactly.
But what I wanted to ask earlier was, so how much of the learning how to learn aspect is about knowing what parts of the day are good for creative work versus grindy work versus et cetera, and is that different for each person?
That's a very good question, and I'm not going to have a concrete answer, because there is science that shows like some people are morning people, some people are evening people. That's when you get your work done. When I was studying, I did all of my work and like studying in the evening, so that worked for me. Now that I'm working and I can allocate my own time, I do my most important things in the mornings.
Same.
Like most energy, clearest mind, get it out of the way. So. And again, like then there's so many areas that can influence whether you have time to do it or not. But there are like tricks how you can indeed like refuel your brain for focus and productivity.
No shit.
So like what you're doing, I think our schedules pretty much look the same. So focused work in the morning, then do some calls in the afternoon, hit the gym or workout, have good dinner, and then do another a couple of hours of work. And that's when you refuel your brain with fresh oxygen, the blood flow increasing.
From what? From the
the exercise.
From the exercise.
From the exercise, fresh oxygen to the brain, new nutrients that help you. Then refueling your body with food, steak or whatever whatever you eat, because like your brain consumes about like 30% of sugar intake on a daily basis. So if you don't refuel your body with foods, it has no fuel to run on. It's like trying to run on a car with empty gas after you studied or worked the whole day. So you need to have somewhat of a moment to pause, exercise, and refuel to focus and concentrate again. So
is that, if someone listens to this right now and they're like, okay, I'm having trouble focusing, maybe it's that I'm trying to focus on the wrong type of task and the wrong day, or the wrong part of the day. How do people find out, right? Because you and I, you said we're the same. For me, it works the best to do the hardest tasks in the morning. And for me, I'm kind of more creatively inclined towards the evening, like new ideas, content ideas, etc. But if someone says, I don't know what part of the day works best for me for what task, how can they find out? Yeah,
like I tell all my students, we're the biggest experiment in life, right? Like there is... till like 80%, I can tell you what you need to do, but the other 20% for you is to experiment at which moment and how it will work out best. So what we do see is indeed like some students, they work better in the mornings, but some students are really productive in the evenings. Then I'm saying like, okay, just try it out for 1 or 2 weeks and then adjust accordingly. I try to go to the gym in the mornings for like a month, and it would impact the rest of my day because I was exhausted, too much heavy lifting, and my body would just feel tired. Also, the waking up early didn't work out. So I adjusted it. And now, right now, after like 1 year, I found this schedule to be working really well, and I'm happy with it. But people shouldn't expect that trying something out for 1 week is going to like magically change everything. So it is an experiment.
When you mentioned earlier eating, the brain needs sugar, etc. Have you noticed any sort of factor of carbohydrates in your diet? Have you noticed any sort of difference between eating a lot of carbohydrates in the morning versus eating none in the morning and eating them in the evening? Have you experimented around with that?
Yeah, they're good to take in the morning.
No shit.
Your body can like fuel on that for a bit longer. Personally, I eat my first meal at 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I first do my focused work. Why is that? Also experimentation. Usually I did my first meal, yogurt, oatmeals, a bit of fruits in the morning. Then I would work, have a lunch. But now I just delay my whole meal, my breakfast and my lunch till like 11, 12. And then my lunch also includes like eggs, bacon, so also some fats. And I've been noticing that this is for me the best way to go. Like my body can go for hours on this fuel. And this is also like science-backed, slow burning carbohydrates like protein, but then also indeed oatmeals, whole grain bread, fruits. That is beneficial. And then in the evening, I just eat a big ass meal.
Nice.
At least like 3 to 4 hours before I go to bed, such that it doesn't impact my sleep. So like everything is geared towards like top-notch productivity, performance, which I also kind of did already back in my studies, but now I'm way more conscious about it. And I help my students with these kind of tips and tricks as well.
You know, I stay away completely from oats and bread. That's just a personal choice.
Yeah.
First of all, because I'm on such a fatty naturally, so if I eat bread, I can't stop.
Yeah,
I love it. So what I do is I don't eat any carbs in the morning. It's just fat and protein. I just eat steak and eggs. That's it.
Well, if it works, it works.
Yeah, exactly. Zero carbs. Well, also because I eat like fucking 80 grams of carbs per day, which is not a lot.
No,
not a lot at all. I eat around 2,000 calories per day, and that's mostly just meat plus a little bit of carbs. So I eat so little carbs that if I would split them up over the day, it would be like a tiny bowl. So what I do is I eat steak and eggs for breakfast, and then in the evening I only have 2 meals. Evening is then chicken with fruit. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just pure fruit, nothing processed. Even rice, because 80 grams of carbs in rice is like a tiny portion of rice. So I'm like, this is not gonna fill me up. But 80 grams of carbs from fruits is like a bowl of strawberries, like a salad bowl of strawberries.
Yeah.
And that's good. You eat quite a long time on a bowl of strawberries. You just eat them one by one. So that's what I figure works best for me because, but it depends, like you said, on each person's digestive system. So when I eat carbohydrates, I very easily get sluggish and tired, even when it's pure carbohydrates. So if I would do that in the morning, I would just be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But steak and eggs really, really fuel me. What do you recommend your clients with caffeine? There's kind of two extreme camps. One is like, caffeine, utilize it all day long because it helps you boost. And there's the other camp, which is me right now, just don't do it at all. It will suck for like a month or two, but after that, you're super good without it.
Yeah, super good question. I'm a person who never drank a whole cup of coffee in my whole life.
No shit. You've never tried it?
No, I'm not going to say anything about experience.
What about Red Bull, Coca-Cola? Have you ever tasted those?
Yes, I've tasted those, but rarely.
Have you drank a whole can of it?
Yes.
So you do know the feeling of caffeine?
When I was in high school, right? Like in lunch, you would eat like a bread with a sausage and then drink Red Bull.
In Europe, welcome to the European cuisine.
So based on that, like I don't have any personal experience regarding that, but I do research about it because students ask me about it. So then I'm like, okay, let me just research this.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of like set rules. At least wait 90 minutes before your first cup of coffee if you want to take one, because cortisol levels are high as soon as you wake up. If you fuel that with caffeine, they spike even 4 to 5 times extra. That's why so many people feel stressed and stuff in the morning.
That's right.
So that's wait for 90 minutes, and then at least have 8 hours before you go to bed with your last cup. So that should normally be between max 2 p.m., 3 p.m., in order to make sure that the caffeine is not impacting your sleep, hence impacting performance. And then throughout the day, like I just tell them use it strategically, because the caffeine is going to spike your energy levels, but it's also going to drop them.
Yeah.
So then you have the craving to take another one to perform again. And what you mentioned about like quitting it at all, it's like eventually your brain and your system gets used to performing on caffeine at a certain level.
Yeah.
So when you're not doing that, it feels like you're not performing at that level, because you have to kind of like get into a new way of working and a new system, which, well, I can't speak from experience because I've never done it.
It's crazy that you never drank coffee.
No.
Do your parents drink coffee?
Yeah.
Was it like a conscious decision of like, I'm not gonna?
It's a funny one, actually. On my bachelor, there were so many classmates, and I hope some of them will be watching this, because then they know I'll be talking about that. And we occasionally had to be really early at our university to go on field trips.
Mm-hmm.
And they would also always be there at like 5 or 6 a.m. and be like, I need my coffee. Like, I can't function without coffee. And that's what the moment where I said, I'm never going to be the person who's going to rely on coffee for being productive. And since then I kept that principle and just
that's a good one, man. That was the same thought I've had for a very long time. I had this like never rely on any outside substance to perform. And then 2 years ago, I think, when I spent a lot of time in Prague, I lived right next to Starbucks. It's like the shittiest coffee anyways, you know what I mean? Like all the coffee connoisseurs are like, dude, Starbucks coffee, are you kidding me? And I'm like, I want to grab a cappuccino, whatever. So I started drinking 2 large cappuccinos in like one go. Like I almost chugged them. And then I'm like, holy shit, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
Because I have such a low tolerance for coffee. Caffeine is like cocaine. I've never done cocaine, but this is what cocaine must feel like. Euphoric as fuck.
Yeah.
Insane work. I would talk fast. Everybody would bore me when they would talk normal speed. I'm like, why do you talk so fucking slow, man? And I was just like going. I was wired. And then I'm like, because that's the problem with caffeine. It's like your body is like, why don't I feel like this all the time?
Exactly.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then
you become dependent on it.
Super. Like, I'm like, next day, 2 large cappuccinos, chug them, get to work. Next day. So I would then just fucking drink it like 3 times a week, 2 times a week. And then I did this coffee challenge. We were in Tokyo. I lived in Tokyo for a month. And me and my videographer, Primoz, we were like, oh, what are we going to shoot for a YouTube video? And I'm like, why don't we make a YouTube video where I drink coffee every day and just see how it goes? And then we did some research, and then, Andrew Huberman said don't do more than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. And then on the other hand, you had Andrew Tate. It's like, I drink 15 coffees a day. So we're like, okay, well, let's see if the difference between, first of all, drink coffee every day, and then see the difference between being under 400 milligrams and then just way above it.
Yeah.
And I drank coffee for a whole week every day. And I'm like, this is so amazing. Fuck this, man. Why have I not done it? I'm just going to drink coffee every day from now on. Then I drank coffee every day for months. And then I would start getting headaches. I would start getting really agitated, really easily stressed. I would just like get aggressive. Like I would just lash out at random things completely disproportionately, right? Like I would drop a cup of water and it would piss me off so much. I'm like, God damn it. So it got way too wired. And then I'm like, okay, let me stop it for a week. And then I had 2 days of headache, felt like shit. And then I'm like, it's too much of a payoff. And then I was in Miami last year and I had Kyle Frungian on the podcast and we talked about coffee. And I said, you know what? Here in the podcast, for everybody listening, I'm going to stop coffee till the end of the year. And there's science that says like to fully have coffee leave your system, it can take up to 60 days or something like that. And it really was like that. Like after a month of no coffee, I was still tired as a baseline. Like just tired and sluggish no matter how much sleep I got. And then after like 30, 40, 50 days, that's where I started getting really good base level energy, really good base level focus. Yep. And most average people that might not even drink coffee every day, they don't not drink coffee for longer than 40 days. Super rare. Like most people drink coffee maybe once a week, so they always get back to that caffeine to their system, never have it fully out of their system.
Yep.
And I really got to say, like after 40, 50 days, that's where you started feeling really fantastic. And I haven't touched any caffeine, not in tea form, not in Red Bull form, not in coffee form, since the last October, 3.5 months now.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's really amazing,
Alcohol?
I gotta say. Huh?
Do you drink alcohol?
No, very rarely. I had sake yesterday.
Same effect.
Yeah. I had sake yesterday at the restaurant. But for me, alcohol is like, apart from that, it was like a shot glass of sake. Apart from that, I had 1 beer and 1 glass of red wine at Christmas.
Yeah.
Celebrating Christmas with my girlfriend's family. And I'm like, every time I make the same mistake with alcohol, I'm like, everybody drinks alcohol. Everybody says it's awesome. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something. Hey, let me have a drink. And then I drink, and then I instantly feel like shit.
Yeah.
I skip the fun part, and I go straight to hangover. My system is so healthy. It's like so...
Yeah, but you're impacted right away. I'm not saying that like alcohol has the same effect as caffeine, because it totally gets you in different moods.
Yeah.
But thinking about it, like, it again takes you like 30 to 60 days before you really see the impact of not drinking on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, whatever people want to do. But like I also quit alcohol like 5th of November 2023.
Wow.
So that's almost like 13 months from now. Before that, I did half a year. And in that half year before, like I think I drank like on 10 occasions. And I'm like, it's not worth it for me. Like
zero.
I can do it. I can drink one, but then might as well just drink water.
Yeah.
I just want to sleep, next day perform.
Yeah.
And do my things. Like I don't want to feel shit. I don't want to feel hangover. And then this one quote, it's like, not feeling hangover is way better than feeling drunk.
That's a good one.
That quote, and it resonated so much as soon as I started to see it. I would still go out with my friends and maybe go join them into town. But then at like 12 or 1, I would say, hey guys, I'm going home. If you want to drive with me, you're more than welcome.
Sick,
because that's usually the point where it gets like out of hand and like the stupid things happen.
True.
And I just want to leave just before that and then go to my bed, have my proper sleep. But still had the time with my friends of like going out, having dinner with them, chilling and stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's funny, man. There's like layers to like entrepreneurship. That's like how it starts. Just like, I'm still gonna go out, but I'll go home at 1. And then like the last layer is like the guy that is in the club at 9 p.m. with his blue light blocking glasses. Leaves at 9:15, so he's in bed by 9:30. You know.
Yeah. When we were calling, it was funny. Like I said, like, hey, I can call you at 9, and you were like, yeah, 9 is my bedtime.
Yeah, I'm sleeping at 9.
Yeah, and I told you like, yeah, at 9:30 my alarm goes off to go to bed as well, and we were like, okay, yeah, it sounds really similar.
And that's like normal for us, right? And then you hang out with like regular people, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You go to bed at 9? Are you 80 years old?
Yeah,
what the hell
but
are you
I'm
doing?
like, yeah, I need to get my proper sleep because like got
and then,
important stuff to do.
Exactly. And then you don't like, I don't drink water after 5 p.m. I try because I don't want to go pee at night.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then again, like layers, right? And then the walking desk treadmills start where you're like,
I bought one because I saw you doing it.
Yeah, let's go.
I saw it on your stories and I was like, oh, actually that's great. And then in my house, so I'm flatting with a couple of guys. I live in Amsterdam, so renting something yourself is still pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But I moved to a bigger room, and that's where I have a standing desk.
My man. So
I put it up, and then I ordered one of these treadmills,
yeah,
and
man.
I was like, yeah, it's good. So yeah, you inspired me regarding that.
Dude, not to brag, but I think I'm the guy who made the shit popular.
Well, but imagine like in that moment while doing some DMs or like conversations with students or giving 100%. Them feedback on something, it's perfect. Like, and you get like 5K to 7K steps easy.
I don't even need to leave the house anymore. I'm like the perfect introvert's dream. I'm like, why would I leave the house, dude? I have all my groceries delivered to me, all my steaks. I have a butcher that delivers the steaks to me and the chicken and the eggs, all local.
Yeah.
I have a treadmill at home. I get 10K steps every day. I leave the house legit 3 times a week, and that is the 3 times I go to the gym.
Go to the gym.
And if my girlfriend wants to do something on the weekend, we go to the weekend to the movie theater or the zoo or whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm like, there's zero reason for me to leave the house.
Sounds
Fuck
pretty
everything.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would I leave the house?
Yeah,
I got
like,
everything.
like the only thing I'll go out is just to get some real sun in my face.
Yeah.
For a nice walk.
I'm on my balcony.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
open the balcony window.
Yeah.
And listen to a sales call and look into the sun.
Because otherwise I'm not getting the proper vitamins.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
But
I just take my shirt off and sit on the balcony.
Sounds pretty similar. Yeah, that's okay. That's funny.
But the treadmill is like, dude, I've had a treadmill in 2017 already. And then I saw like some entrepreneur on a walking desk treadmill. I'm like, I made that shit big. Because it sounds so braggy, but here was my thought process. So I have super bad posture when I sit. Exactly. So bad. I'm like, no matter what I do, after 10 seconds, I'm hunched over like this, like a fucking orc. And then I'm like, okay, I need a standing desk. So I got a standing desk, but then I realized I'm always putting my weight on one leg.
Okay.
It's super unproportional. So I'm either on the right leg or the left leg. And I didn't want to have this like singular pressure on one part of the hip or something. So then I'm like, I need a device where I switch legs all the time. So I thought of one of these like half balls where you're on a ball that always wobbles. But then I'm like, no, why don't I get a treadmill? So I just walk.
Yeah.
Then I got a treadmill desk and I'm like, this is it. This is the best thing. And then I'm like, I can do my 10K steps on that. So I just did all my 10K steps. One tip I give you though is you want to be careful when you walk and you type at the same time. You have this slight forward leaning posture that is really bad for your lower back. So I've done this for like a week and then my lower back was destroyed. It was so bad because you have this weird tension in there. So what I started doing is I only am on the walking treadmill desk when I don't have to do anything with my hands on my laptop. So calls, meetings, workshops immediately on the treadmill. But anything typing, I sit down.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Like I also bought a brace to put my back into posture. So it's like you have
I had that too.
A hip band and then something around your shoulders so that you sit up like that. But I occasionally forget to wear it.
I had that. My mobility mentor told me throw that shit away right away.
Okay.
He said to me, it's what it does is because it forces your shoulders back, your muscles are pushing against it. So you're actually training your muscles to have an even shittier posture because they're pushing against it the whole time.
Okay. And then they're becoming stronger.
Exactly. They're becoming stronger into the wrong direction.
Interesting.
Exactly. And he's just said like, look, I'm just going to give you exercises to train the right portions of the muscles.
Yeah.
And this guy, I've had him on the podcast too. His name is Moving Monkey. Leon is his name, but his brand name is Moving Monkey. Total G. Shout out to him. I've worked with him for like 3 years now. And dude, my hip mobility, my hips were like almost like flexed together. They were completely frozen. I could barely lift my knee up above my belly button.
Yeah.
I was so stiffened from the waist down. It was that's what she said. Super funny. I was super fucked. To this day, because we're still working on it, I can't sit in the lotus position.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't do it. My knees are like almost upright. I can't get my feet down.
I'm curious though, because also I'm super curious more about like your personal journey eventually, and would love to hear from that, because I know that you started like also working on your own business, like just grinding away.
Yeah.
Like how long did it took for you to actually, well, and correct me if I'm wrong, start taking your health in that aspect seriously as well? Because
super long.
Yeah, like it is also super unhealthy. Like so many people think they want the online business and they want the online fame and they want the content creation stuff, but it's like not only mentally super tough, but also like physically, like otherwise you will be sitting at home the whole day.
Yep.
And if you don't have any way of getting your movement and your exercising, you're not going to get really healthy.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like when was it that you made that shift?
I think the big it again happened in periods, but the biggest change first was switching from offline to online. So my first business, the dating advice business, I would physically travel the world.
Yeah.
Every Monday I would travel to a new city. So I would do like 45 cities per year, which is
Sick.
almost nonstop. And that it's a huge physical toll. You constantly underslept because you're always in a different time zone.
Exactly.
Every fucking week you're in a different so your body's confused as hell. Then food goes down to shit. No matter, but back then my focus wasn't really there. Now when I travel, when I tour, I eat clean fucking 90% of the time.
Yeah.
But back then I was mid-20s. I started eating clean the first week, and then like, fuck it, let's go to McDonald's, let's grab a burger real quick. And next thing you know, your diet consists 80% of fried food, chips, just dog shit, because you don't have time. If you don't structure it nicely, you don't have time, it gets really bad. And then I started gaining weight, losing muscles, constantly being sick. I looked unhealthy, zero vitamin D.
Also getting sick, and that prevents you from actually doing anything.
Exactly. And now you're in this, and also when I get sick, I want to eat shitty food. It's super weird. My body craves sugar and stuff like that. So everything goes down to shit. And then I realized like I can't do this physically anymore. I'm physically burnt out and mentally burnt out to do it in person. So then that's why I started creating my first digital course in 2016 called The Natural. And that made me my first million. And it was like, oh, I'm just sitting wherever I want and people buy my products. It was a video product that I sold. Yeah. Cool. I can hit the gym. So from then I started going 6 times a day to the gym, take it ultra seriously, perfect diet all the time. But then I would go on tour again. It would all get messed up again. And then I would say like in 2017, 18, I started structuring everything around my physical diet. And then I realized, hold on a second, I have way more focus when I don't eat shit food. I have way more focus when I do exercise. Oh, I have even better focus when I work hard at first and then exercise. Kind of like you said, it's like I was my own experiment. And over time, I became more and more obsessed with optimization.
Yeah.
I realized, if I put the gym in the evening instead of right away in the morning, I can get all the shit done. And then when I'm mentally
tired,
your
I
hit
body
the gym.
Is still
exactly
not tired.
Exactly. And then I can hit the gym, I listen to music, and then I come home and I'm mentally and physically tired, and then I go to sleep, and then I sleep better because I'm fucking dead.
Exactly.
And I sleep super well. So it's exactly like you said, exactly like you teach your students. It's like you optimize based on, you create awareness within your body and your mind to understand what makes me float my boat. And then you optimize it more and more. And then when I tour now, I have such a good structure and understanding of my time schedule and of my physique, of my body, of my mental health, that I can plan ahead and know exactly, okay, I'm going to fly to this time zone, which means I'm going to go to bed at this time if my flight arrives then. That means I can go to bed at this time. That means I still have enough time to go to the store, buy the steak. Like I said, I changed from a 1 suitcase setup to a 2 suitcase setup because in my second suitcase fit my supplements, my gym gear, my pillow. I travel with an orthopedic pillow, so I always have the same sleep quality. Yeah. By the way, that's a big game changer.
Okay, I will note it.
My fucking pillow. I slept in an Airbnb tonight, slept exactly the same. My fucking pillow.
Yeah.
Orthopedic pillow, it's like this broad.
Yeah.
Fits into a suitcase, doesn't take much space, and I travel with my own frying pan.
Yeah.
Ceramic frying pan, because all the Airbnbs, they have shitty pans. They either have like Teflon bullshit or none. So you can't cook steak there. And again, frying pan doesn't take much space. It's like a flat thing, right?
That's so funny.
Yeah, you put a bag over it, so in case there's like residual fat, it doesn't go on clothes or something like that. Yeah. And I travel with my own ceramic pan, because ceramic pan is almost the same sticky burningness that creates a crust on your steak than a cast iron.
Yeah.
But cast iron is like 10 times heavier. So ceramic is still very, very, very not heavy. It's very light, and it still works. So I travel. Those two are really good essentials that really do a lot of it. So now, and steak you can get easily. You either go to a high quality store that has like a butchery place inside of it, or you find a butcher. So when I tell my assistant to find me an Airbnb, she knows exactly, this is what I want to pay per month, per night. This is how many rooms it needs to have. This is what it needs to look like in case I want to shoot videos. And this is how close it's okay to have a butcher and a gym. So it's all scheduled ahead of time. And on my last tour through the US, I came back, I lost weight, which I never do. I gain weight because I stayed in incredible...
going to the US.
Yeah, exactly. Especially going to the US. I stayed in incredible shape. I didn't skip a single gym session. Did it all, had a great fucking time, cut out coffee, did podcasts, burned a shit ton of calories, and I still had like 3-4 cheat days over those like 6 weeks or whatever. So it's not like I was living with a stick up my ass. I still my friends are like, let's get donuts when we were in New York. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll get donuts.
Yeah.
Didn't do it every day.
No, but
I added it in.
it's okay. Yeah.
And it was fucking great. It's really amazing. So
yeah, it's a good that you like, but again, I think only from experience, it was like a wake up call that something had to change.
Yes.
Right. So that's why I was curious about asking you that. And like, I luckily have so many people in my surrounding that already tell me like, Tom, make sure you do your exercise. Also do your gym. Like also my mentors, they say like, I always say healthy mind, healthy body, healthy, fill in the dots. So like business, school, anything. So that's what I want to prioritize. And I was curious about like, because I've seen your pictures as well, right? You share a lot of your old pictures.
Yeah.
And then you see the Max like sitting there with his beard like this big, in his white shirt, like behind the laptop. Shirt. And then I'm like, yeah, that doesn't look the most healthiest. And now that I'm like 9 years later, I would say you look pretty. You look fit, and
Thanks, man.
You also sound fit. So I think that's a huge shift that. Yeah, people have to make and understand.
And dude, it's amazing because we are I think we're amongst the first generation of entrepreneurs that wants to hit it all aspects of life. There's a lot of
life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are fat, unhealthy, but they have a shit ton of money. There's a lot of gym bros that are in incredible shape, but they're like broke eating out of Tupperware every day.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I see so many of my entrepreneur friends, they have a six-pack, they're in incredible shape, they do sports, they run fucking half marathons, and they make more than $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And I asked ChatGPT the other day, I'm like, how many men across the earth right now have a six-pack and make more than $1 million a year? And it's like 0.02%.
Yeah, I saw a similar statistic. Like in a couple of years from now, it's more common to have a Rolex or $1 million than to have a fit body.
Wow. Fuck.
And I was like, okay, that's pretty insane. So that also shows indeed like how bad the physical kind of like aspect of not only entrepreneurship but just life is getting. So yeah, that's interesting.
Do you teach that to your clients as well? To like, hey, go to the gym, go for a walk and stuff like that?
Yeah, this week I recorded a video while I was doing my run. It was in the snow. It was cold. It sucked. But I said like, guys, remember like so much science proves after moderate exercise, your focus and concentration increases for the next 2 hours. So if you want to do yourself a favor, then go to the gym, go do your workout, go for your 20-minute HIIT workout, even though it's in your living room, and then do your studies again or do whatever you need to do. So when students, for example, I literally give them feedback on their time schedules, right?
Oh,
so
sick.
they send in their time schedules, and then I'm asking like, okay, where's your evening walk? Or where's your exercise time?
That is sick.
Because I know that if they do that, they will perform better. Because there's no infinite amount of mental energy either. Like you can't study or work on something focused for like 12 hours. So
your clients have to like submit like end of day reports or something like that, and then you give them feedback?
It depends. So basically what I usually do is I have group coaching calls, I have workshops, and also occasionally one-on-one calls with students. So depending on where the conversation is geared at, I give them specific homework. So right now it's exam season. So I tell students like, hey, send me your plan for the next like 2-3 weeks, and I will give you feedback on that.
Sick.
I will ask you questions about why you do things in a certain way. But also this week we did workshops on focus and concentration and distractions. And right now we're doing a screen time screenshot challenge.
Wow.
So everybody has to send through their screenshot of their screen time to show how much it's like spent on Instagram, all that. And then next week we'll do another screenshot. The person with the biggest decrease is going to win like another one-on-one call or like
sick.
a private tutoring session or something like that.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you, number one, drop a like and a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Number two, if you're watching this on iTunes or Spotify, leave a 5-star rating. It helps a ton to get this podcast out to more people. It's been growing super duper well, and it helps me get more awesome guests like this one here for you. So make sure you do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate the living hell out of you. And now back to the episode. Is there sort of a healthy amount of daily screen time? And is there a cutoff time where you say this is definitely, you're fucked when you're above that time?
I think the science shows that anything between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. watching screens within that time is actually bad for sleep impact and stuff.
Well, yeah.
But the amount of screen time, like still, if you're studying on an iPad or working on a laptop, you're still getting an immense amount of screen time. So I don't think we can take that away, which is the generation that we're getting kind of like used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I don't know if there's like science that shows...
How much is yours? How much time do you spend on Instagram per day?
I would say it depends. Mondays, 2 hours, because that's when I do my content. So then I'm searching, I'm swiping from other creators, I'm looking at things. And then throughout the week, 30, 45 minutes, usually just checking if a team posted on broadcast channel, content is posted. And we do all our messaging via other platforms. So then I'm always on my laptop. So I just don't like to spend as much time on Instagram.
You use ManyChat to DM, or what do you mean?
Yeah.
ManyChat is the best.
It's pretty good.
We have our AI hooked up to ManyChat. Shout out to everybody who's been having a conversation with me, aka. So, didn't you ask me too? Who asked me on who's like, am I messaging with Max or is this an AI? So on the Max
VA, like
that's right.
Eventually, you know how things go. It's like,
can
you forward this message to Max if you're a VA? And I'm like, because like I know, like most likely you have other people like managing things and stuff.
Well, on the Max Tornow, that's my personal. That's actually me. Okay, I don't have any. I mean, that's also why most of the time I just don't reply at all.
Yeah,
but
because you don't check it.
Yeah, exactly,
exactly.
Yeah. But that is there's no VA has access to that because it's also like my personal messages that I send my friends, memes and shit like that. And but the Max Tornow business is all AI.
Exactly.
So when you DM me there, it's a fucking AI.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, oh, is this Max? And then the AI sends them a voice message
with
that is me.
Yeah.
And then if they're like, yeah, but you didn't say my name in the voice message, and then the AI sends a photo, a selfie of me with the name of the person in it. Because you can edit the name in it.
Yeah.
Super crazy. And then when people leave a voice message, the AI can listen to it and understand it and reply. If people change language, because some people are like, oh, I know you speak German, Max. They just write or speak in German. The AI switches to German. Handles that. That's the craziest thing. So that's what we do on Instagram. And that's a custom AI that we built via ManyChat.
Yeah.
Now on LinkedIn, we're also testing right now a chat AI. That one's is like it's a different AI system that is underneath it, and it does outreach as well. It can cold outreach. You feed it your sales navigator settings.
Yeah, I've had that set up as well.
Sick.
So yeah,
and that AI we have to still make changes. It's just in version 1.0. It's like the improvisation is completely out of control. So what it does is I'm getting emails. I got an email yesterday like, hey, what's up? It's John from LinkedIn. Remember, anyway, when do you want to do 3 p.m. today? And I'm like, and I replied, I'm like, hey, John, this is the real Max here. You've been chatting with my AI. I have no idea what you guys discussed, but let me know some more context.
What's up?
He's like, are we still on for 3 p.m.? I'm like, what? What did we do?
It was already scheduling meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
insane.
What it's supposed to do, it's programmed to tell people to hop on a call and then send in the booking link.
Yeah.
But then it improvises too much. Some people are like, oh, I can't make it. I can't make it. Or some people are like, look, I'm not here to buy your program, but whatever, like I want to interview you or whatever. And the AI is like, sure, great. What's your email? I'll schedule it. And then it schedules shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. I've had, this is the craziest thing. I've had a friend of mine write me on WhatsApp. He's like, bro, I just want to thank you for the last couple of weeks of your support. I'm like, what? Well, I messaged you on LinkedIn and I asked you all these questions and you answered me. And I'm like, bro, what? And I looked at the LinkedIn conversation. He's been writing with my AI for weeks. And he's like, Max, what do you think about this idea? I know you're a business consultant. And the AI is programmed to be super supportive. So the AI was like, that's a great idea, man. You go, let me know how it goes. So he would 4 weeks was conversing with my AI and asking it questions, and the AI was like coaching him. And he's like, I implemented all the ideas, man. And I'm like, bro, it wasn't me. And he's like, no, it was. I asked if it's you or the AI. And of course the AI is like, no, it's really me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So crazy.
And this is a thing where I personally I'm struggling with, because it's like, where does it benefit? But where is it also like ethically?
Yeah.
Kind of like people are expecting to talk with me, or at least we mention like, hey, you're talking to someone from my team right now.
Exactly.
Just so that they know like, okay, actually I'm not talking to the real you.
Yeah.
And we do have like a bunch of ManyChat automations also set up, because like I told you, like for the people who don't know, I grew my Instagram from 4,000 to 400,000 in a year.
Pretty sick.
And then getting all of those leads coming in that reply on posts or reply on stories, I needed somewhat of an automation in place. So I invested like 6-7K on a ManyChat system, which was amazing. A shout out to School of Bots, Natasha and team. And they helped me with qualifying questions, but also just sending the freebies.
Yep.
Collecting email addresses, collecting names for the CRM system to follow up with emails and stuff. But right now, we tried to book calls via the automations, and then too many calls would come through that eventually were not the right fit for my programs, because I'm only working with students in Europe or America, Canada, due to educational systems, but also economic reasons. So then, like, I would have all of these calls booked, and it was like, oh, yeah, no, we don't want that. So then we took out a bit of the automation. We had the team coming in, and now they are just chatting with them a bit more. And then occasionally I just hop in and do also some chatting. But yeah, it's a really gray area where I think it's like, okay, we can automate till a certain extent, and where does it indeed benefit a lot?
Yep.
Because I love the human aspect.
Oh, hell yeah.
The coaching business. Like
100%.
Eventually, I'm
for
here
the clients,
I'm here to help you, and I want you to have that experience throughout the whole funnel. And we have so many people texting me, "Is this a bot?" ? And I'm like, yeah, just imagine getting 1,000 messages on a day and answering them manually.
Yeah, you're done. ?
And he was like, yeah, okay, makes sense. So then I'm like, yeah, okay, now you're talking to me. So like, hey, if you want to ask any questions, this is your moment, because I'm going to be gone in like 30 minutes. But then like we joke around with it a bit.
Yeah,
but people also understand. So
yeah, we don't do that anymore at all.
Yeah,
all AI.
Yeah, that's insane.
I also, because I totally love what you said. Like on a client level, hell yeah. Like when you're my client, it's me. Yes. I'm on a Zoom with you, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
there's no AI.
Unless I mean, maybe in a couple of years you could theoretically have an AI avatar or whatever. But I'm not gonna want to do that, because I also want to actually work with my clients. But on the DM level, I used to, because like you said, like we used to then have like three DMers that would work in shifts, 8 hours each, to cover 24 hours a day. Yeah. Now those 3 DMers then needed constant quality control. Then they needed daily huddles. Then they needed to check all the KPIs. Sometimes one will get sick. So now we're missing a third of our DMs, right? So now we're a third of the leads, third of the closes, just because somebody got sick, right? Exactly. Then you got Christmas, New Year's, then they want to have time off, then they have issues, then they're not motivated.
Yeah.
And then we implement the AI, and I'm like, I want to test it, because I was like, the humans are going to do a better job. No way.
Yeah.
Tested the AI instantly in the first version, 30% increase in everything.
Sick.
No management though. No time off, no KPIs,
training
no daily
AI,
huddles.
though.
Huh?
Right. Training of the AI. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you train it once.
Yeah.
And that's it forever, you know?
Yeah.
There's no, can I have time off? It was basically instantly employee of the month.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the AI don't need no commission.
No.
The AI don't need to get paid.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
So we pay, there's one manager that manages the AI just to make sure that the automations work and stuff like that. But that's it. So the time and effort it takes to manage the humans just gone.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger save. It's less the money itself. Yeah, you save because you don't have to pay them, but at the same time, it's like the management. That's the bigger one. And then I'm like, okay, I grew up super liberal. This whole idea of like the asshole boss that just cares about bottom line profit.
Yeah.
I grew up with that being the enemy. And now here I was years later in a situation of like, I have 3 humans that have been working full time for me for years. And now I'm gonna be like, you've been replaced by a machine because it costs me less money and fucking effort.
Yeah.
But the problem now is like, I'm like, is that ethical? It's a dick move. It's what we call a so-called dick move. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Do I as a business owner have the responsibility to go above and beyond and provide the best possible value for my clients? I undoubtedly have. Mm-hmm. Do I have the responsibility to put the best effort in for my staff? I undoubtedly have. So if I knowingly know, if I cut off the management and the time and the involvement that it takes me to manage a team of setters, if I cut that off, if I would knowingly not cut that off, I would knowingly screw over my clients because I would have less time to work with them and the rest of my team. So I thought, okay, what can I do to do it in the right way? The way I did it is I went to all my DM setters and I said, listen, this is what happened. AI does a better job than you. We tested it. It increased everything. But I'm going to be the last person to just fucking fire you. I'm going to personally find you another gig that pays at least the same amount that we pay you right now for a niche that maybe doesn't work with AI or they don't want to have an AI. I'm connected to tens of thousands of coaches that I've worked with that have been in my mentoring program. I'll get you another job. And until I found you that other job, you can stay on. You still get paid. You don't have to even DM because the AI already took over, but you're still going to get paid. So, for your family, for your own safety, you don't have to dip in your salary. So I paid them for another month or so until I found another gig, positioned them there, and now they're happy. Yep. So the reason why I'm saying this is not to defend myself. The reason why I'm saying this is for a lot of business owners that are undoubtedly listening to this, and they're wondering the same. You can do it in an ethical, non-asshole way. It takes you extra time to find another position for these people, but I think that's how I made it work for myself, and it worked pretty fucking well.
Yeah. And over time, indeed, like then it becomes more profitable as everything increases.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a very interesting choice, I would say, because indeed, and this is what I'm also noticing, like I made the mistake. I don't know if you've ever made this mistake, but in September, October, I created a lot of new revenue, and I thought like, okay, what's up with all the money? Like, what are we going to do? So I started new coaching programs. I started hiring ad agencies. I hired like 2 extra people on my team because I was like, oh yeah, we just need to do more of this. Mm-hmm. And then, well, 1.5 months later, I just told 3 of them like, hey, sorry, like we're not going to do this anymore because I can't manage it. The systems are not there yet to properly provide. Yeah. So this is where it's interesting. Like, okay, when do you hire additional people? When do you try something new? And who do you also hire and implement? So I made I wouldn't say mistake because I learned so much from it. Like I hired a guy who would help me with the onboarding calls for students. He had success, like he had students sign up. So that was great. However, over a longer time period, the amount of the quality or the people or like there was more sales resistance or like acquisition challenges. I wasn't taking any calls anymore because I was like, oh, he's handling that for me. Yeah, yeah. And then we saw a huge dip again in the business. So it was like, oh, things weren't sorted. and this is where I'm right now saying like, hey, I just keep doing a lot of things also myself for, first of all, quality and growth. And then as soon as I have everything sorted, like real SOP system, proper like guidelines, and this is how I would do it, everything recorded, then outsource it. Yeah. Because I was just going too fast, which is just me, my enthusiastic, like puppy kind of like thing. Like, oh, I'm going to try and hit level 7 while I'm actually at level 4. Yeah. Kind of like cycling back to the video game kind of like things. My character wasn't leveled up enough. So I just miserably failed of defeating that boss in level 7. Yeah. And that made me even more like stressed or like stuff like that. So
most companies fail because they either scale too fast or too slow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the thing with scaling too fast is exactly what you say. The usual mistake is people are like, I'm going to hire someone and I'm going to let them do their thing because now it's delegated and I spend zero energy on it anymore. But now, as you said, the problem is they might not have the training. They might not do the things the way that you want them to do. They're missing the quality control. They're missing the leadership. And then all of a sudden things start falling apart and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing is, but then people try that once. They get so shocked, so traumatized by that they're like, I'm going to do everything myself for the next 5 years.
Which
now
is
they're
also
scaling
not what
too
I
slow.
want. Yeah, exactly.
So the way I've learned it, and we've scaled so many times for ourselves and for our clients, from 10K to 50K to 500K a month. And the dimensionalization of that is huge, right? When you scale from 10K to 100K, you 10X everything. You 10X the amount of sales calls. You don't just 10X the amount of revenue, but also the amount of sales calls. You 10X the amount of staff that you need.
Exactly.
You 10X the amount of refund requests you have. The 10X the amount of issues you might have. 10X everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's pretty crazy. And what I've learned is that the goal when you're scaling is not to scale perfectly. The goal is to scale until it breaks. And when it breaks, you take one step back and not 10.
No, exactly.
You readjust and then you fix it. It's a constant riding on the edge. It's like, to get back to gaming, when you're playing a racing game or when you're racing in real life, you're trying to push the car so hard that it's right at the edge of the corner.
Yeah.
It doesn't
almost
fly out of the corner. It's not too slow, so you take it easily. You want to ride it right at the edge. And that's what you're doing with scaling. You scale fast enough so shit breaks. And then like, whoa, that break, let's adjust real quick.
Exactly.
One step back, let's make sure everything works. Yeah. So it's a constant readjustment and taking out of fires and stuff like that. But it's a beautiful journey. Now, what I wanted to ask you earlier is like ADHD.
Yes.
I feel like, well, first of all, ADHD is a real thing, but the problem is it's a term that gets thrown around too easily. Yes. Oh, you know what? I can't work hard because I have ADHD. Oh, I can't study hard because I have ADHD. I think it becomes some sort of an excuse. How much of it is real? Do you have students kind of deal with that and then it turns out that they're just fucking lazy instead of actually having ADHD? How real of a thing is it for most people?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I'm not going to do any claims on ADHD and stuff like that. Just want to put that out there because maybe there is someone in the business neuroscience watching this and he's like, that is absolutely wrong. I don't want that. So I'm just going to share anything I know from experience and me working with the students, right? Yeah. So I have a bunch of students with ADHD. What they mainly miss is structure and overview. What I absolutely love is structure and overview. So this is amazing match. So I do believe that ADHD is a thing. You're easily distracted. You need like continuous reminders to get you back on track. But if you create a system like that for yourself, my students with ADHD are the best students I have. They score the best grades, they improve their time management, they reduce their ADHD medication. Sometimes they even get like anxiety and depression medications because of their other symptoms or how ADHD is impacting their life. They manage to decrease that. So that is a huge side effect of creating overview and structure. And like, it is very tailored because there's multiple different types of ADHD. I know that for sure. So it's not like one solution fits everybody, but I will look together with you and figure out like, hey, try this for like 1 or 2 weeks. How does it work? And then they say, this is amazing. I've never learned that. So also for entrepreneurs who have, and this is also important, diagnosed ADHD, because I think a lot of people these days say, I'm so easily distracted, like my attention span is bad. Yeah, no shit. Like you're watching short form content on a daily basis. You're not even challenging yourself anymore to read 10 pages of a book. So yes, your focus and your attention span is shit. Like on a daily basis, I think people get between like 13,000 bits of information thrown at them. Advertisement, notifications, emails, everything that they see, which is the same in one day as people I believe in the 1700s are getting in their whole life. So like the increase of that is insane. So yes, our brains are right now not developed or wired yet to consume so much information and to deal with all of the distractions, which is also what they see in science, that people are developing actually, I believe, ADHD at later stages in life because your brain can physically like change. And then they start to create these symptoms, etc. But should it be used as an excuse? I believe there's also statistics that a lot of successful entrepreneurs are ADHD because they think differently. And if they have the hyper focus, they go and then they're hard to stop. Do I think it can be influenced these days by like content and what you do? Yes, absolutely. So like I have a lot of students who say, yeah, I have ADHD. And then I ask them literally like, diagnosed or undiagnosed? Undiagnosed. Then I say, as long as it's not diagnosed, you don't have ADHD. You just have a problem with your attention span and your focus. And we can increase that because it's a muscle that can be trained. So, and that sounds hard because they might have started Googling themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have these symptoms. Okay, yeah, then you have ADHD. And then I'm like, yeah, like I can Google if coffee is good for me, and I will have 700 articles telling me that coffee is good for me. I can Google if coffee is bad for me, and I can get 700 articles that coffee is bad for me. So it works the same way with these kind of things, in my opinion.
So how many of the people do some of your clients then get tested for ADHD and they have it?
I had one actually.
Yeah,
he said like, yeah, I've been considering getting like brain scans done and stuff, and he said, okay, right now it is confirmed, so I know that I have ADHD, and I'm now going into the trajectory of getting like meds and figuring out which medications work. And he told me like, holy shit, like the first time that I took my meds and was in the lecture room, like all of the noise and all the sound, like it just disappeared and I could focus so much better. And I was like, good for you, man. I'm so happy that you took the step, and because it's going to help you out so much. So yeah, that is a win.
But to be honest, I have a friend who has diagnosed ADHD. He said exactly the same. He's like, for the first time in my life, I did not have voices and stuff like that. And I'm like, and he brought me some of his medicine. I'm like, let me take some of that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, yeah, no shit. I got hyper focused from that shit too for 4 fucking hours.
Yeah.
But I don't have ADHD.
Yeah.
So again, I'm gonna get huge flack for that. But even nowadays, when you go to a fucking doctor who's incentivized to prescribe you fucking pills for which he gets kickback, doctors get paid when they give you medicine, even in Europe. I'm also kind of like, how much of because it's not like there's a exact number that you reach and above that range you have ADHD. It's still subject to interpretation. So I'm not saying it is like that, but I'm saying there's probably also a chance that you go to a doctor, he asks you a couple of questions, and he's like, yeah, you got ADHD too. Here, take these pills.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in the system, so I know that they do brain scans and stuff like that, and based on that they can draw the conclusions. But also, like, I have students who said I stopped taking my ADHD medication because I wanted a more natural approach. And like I said, students lowered that dose after working together because we created more structure and overview, and we actually learned them how to live with their ADHD brain. Again, I'm not claiming that I can change everybody's brain that has ADHD, but I do see a pattern. Right now, I've been working with over 10 students that have ADHD, and like I said, best students so far, best results as soon as we figure things out.
So what are, like, if you could like break them down to like whatever 5 steps or whatever on things you can do to help you with your ADHD if you want to study hard or work hard for that matter?
Yeah, like again, structure overview, because that's their biggest challenge. It's like everything is like, ooh. So what we do, like time blocking wise, depending on what they feel comfortable with, we create time blocks in their schedules for certain tasks. We also set reminders, because that is a physical, and like they can hear it, they can see the reminder, like, oh, this was the task that I'm doing. because an ADHD brain often goes like, oh, cool plant.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, water. Oh, what are these cameras actually doing? Oh, wait, I was in this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So they occasionally need the reminders and then actually setting alarms to
on
remind,
the phone.
Yeah, on the phone on what they should be doing on a daily basis. So I had one student, she had 3 alarms in the morning to make sure that she was ready to go to work on time. It could be waking up. It would be one alarm like, hey, right now you should be making breakfast. And then right now you should be brushing teeth and getting ready. And that helped her to remind her like, oh, if my brain gets distracted and go all over the place, do that.
No shit.
With learning wise as well, like shorter time bursts. So instead of forcing yourself to study or work for like an hour, focus on like 15-20 minute sessions, and then have indeed the reminders, the alarms kicking in. But also what worked with one student is just telling them like, hey, here you have a 2-hour timer for today. You start it when you want to do, when you're starting focused work, and you pause it as soon as you're finished. Your goal eventually is to get 2 hours of focused work done, no matter what time of the day. And then they have that freedom to just hit the timer or the stopwatch and be like, okay, like then I hit my goal of actually getting things done, and I know that I reach my goals, whether that's business or study-wise. So those are a couple of things that we implement and help them with.
Do checklists help? You write down like, here's my morning checklist. First, breakfast, then coffee, then brush your teeth or whatever.
It will be a bit similar to what we do with the time blocking.
Okay.
Right. So I literally tell them like, hey, have a plan for what you do in this specific time. And I don't know. I don't have any proof that an actual checklist works, but that is also very person independent. Because for another person, a checklist can feel overwhelming, and therefore they stress and they procrastinate on it. And for another person, it's like, okay, I'm just going to do everything step by step by step. Get them done. Feel great.
That's what I thought too. Because the reminders, for me personally, would be too aggressive, because then I'm in the middle of the task and I get the reminder that I already need to do the other task. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it once I finish this. And then I finish it, but then I forgot the reminder. The reminder's already over. But if I had a checklist, I'm like, I finished this. What's the next thing item on the checklist? That's just how my mind works.
Yeah, and again, this is like, there's so many different things for other people. I right now know how much time I actually or approximately spend on a certain task. So if I think in advance, like, okay, I need to, like, let's say shoot a new YouTube video. I know that takes me like half an hour, 45 minutes scripting, and then half an hour, 45 minutes recording. So that's 1.5 hours. Why do I know that? I've been doing it now for 5 weeks. And in the beginning, I allocated like 3 hours for it. But right now I know, okay, I can cut that in half. Other things like, hey, I need to create new slide decks for workshop material. Okay, topic this long, takes me half an hour to create them. And then based on continuous analysis of how long tasks take and what the amount of energy and effort you need to put in the task, you allocate it to a morning time slot, an afternoon time slot, based on your energy levels, yada yada.
Most of your clients are what's their age, and what sort of school level are they in? Yeah,
that's a funny question, because when I initially started my business, I was expecting myself to be working continuously with college students, like 18, 19 years old, like me just like 9 years ago. But right now, we did a research among my current clients and old clients. I'm figuring out that the average age is 29.
Wow.
Most of them are full-time work, part-time study, or part-time work and part-time study. And the students who are full-time students, they indeed have like parent support for the programs and stuff, but I'm figuring out that most people are just adults trying to figure out how to control and manage their life better, where study plays a role, so either to make promotions or switch jobs or anything, and they struggle with the time management, like working full-time, then coming home, studying, and all that. So yeah, that's interesting. Last week I had a call with a guy who's 61.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like it actually doesn't matter what age. And I even had moms with kids telling me like, Tom, even though that you are not a parent and you don't have, you know, to say the right things and to advise the right things. So I'm like, okay, happy to hear that from a mom who has 2 kids, because I have absolutely no idea what it's like to be a parent next to being an orthodontist and like working and studying, you know? So
that 60-year-old person, what did they do? Do they still study or?
So he's still working, and he was like, yeah, dude, like I've never learned how to learn, and right now I'm doing another course for my business or for my work, and I just don't know how to grasp all that material in the short amount of time that I have, because I'm traveling a lot. This guy was flying all over America to inspect train rails. I was like, this is cool.
No shit.
And he was like, yeah, I need to fix this. I need to solve this. And I genuinely believe that you're never too old to learn. And I was like, dude, heck yeah, I agree with that. So let's book another call like next week and talk about everything in detail.
Are there differences in brain physiology that for older people, it's difficult to let go of old habits, old patterns?
There's proven that, that it's harder to learn things or to adjust things. But I'm, again, like one student, 58 years old, ADHD, reduced medications, scores consistently 95 to 99% on her exams.
Wow.
So like if they show me those results, I'm like, okay, actually what we do works regardless of your age.
How many years have you been doing that now?
The business itself, or learning about these topics?
The business.
I started in September 2022.
Wow.
So, but I would say seriously, May 2023.
So you're gonna get, like in a couple of years from now, you're gonna get people that are doctors that are like, I became a doctor because of your help.
Yes.
Like that's. Yeah. You're at a time right now where my students are getting sick results, but like you're gonna see 10 years from now, you're gonna be like, my kids are going to private schools because I'm a doctor and I make a ton of money because you helped me pass the exams back then.
That would be cool.
That is, you really start seeing the shit now. I get people now that are like, Max, like I have 2 kids and a wife because back in 2016 I bought your program on how to talk to girls.
Yeah.
These 2 humans would not exist without your course. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You created life. That's pretty sick, you know?
That's so funny.
That's
unreal. And I'm not... Yeah, since I've been doing it for not too long, but do get results, it's like one student was one of my first students, I would say. He was in a really tough position, like almost academic probation, which means failing one more course, kicked out of the program. He had to pass all of his courses 90% and above. So it was insane. So we worked for 3 months one-on-one. He passed all of his courses. And this Christmas, he called me and he said, Tom, I have great news. With all your help and your tips and tricks, I also passed my other exams, and right now I'm going to go into clinics because he's becoming a dentist.
Sick.
So he's like, yeah, thank you again so much. Like a year later, so that I do start seeing those kind of like things, which is cool.
That's the beauty about the coaching business. You know, I'm helping people building all kinds of businesses, and they all have advantages and disadvantages. But the part about coaching is the human aspect of really getting people who are like, yo, I'm doing this now because of your stuff.
Yeah. That's
really, really, you know, on top of all the money, it sounds so cliche, but like on top of all the money you make from that, that's like a really nice pay, so to speak.
Yeah.
When you look at the school system and the university system, what do you think needs to change? Because in my experience, it's still so outdated. At least when I went through it, even when I was studying at the university, it was still just retain fucking knowledge.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, we no longer need to retain knowledge in real life because we got knowledge in our pockets and our smartphone.
I agree.
What do you think, from your experience of working with so many people, how does the school and university system need to change?
Yeah. And this is, I almost guessed that you were going to ask a question regarding like this because I follow your content as well. And like, there's also some posts about like, hey, quit the 9 to 5 and do X, Y, Z. I will touch upon that in a second, but I agree that it's outdated, and I think the skills that actually people need to learn are executive thinking skills. So think about learning how to understand information, problem solving skills, manage your time, prioritize tasks, all that. That is one. I think another skill that is highly recommended is financial literacy.
Literacy.
Yeah, literacy.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Literacy. Yeah.
But you understand what I mean. Learning about finances.
Talking about literacy.
How to do your tax.
Yeah.
How to deal with income. How to invest. How to do anything like that. And outside of that, I truly believe that we should give people indeed more like freedom to learn what they want. Because I honestly believe like we need doctors, we need engineers, we need architects, we need people to teach. We couldn't be a coach in the field that we are based on the experience that we if we didn't have the experience. So do you agree that some fields of study are like, yeah, okay, cool that they are there?
Like which ones?
Well, I won't share anything regarding that, because I'm honestly a huge believer of do whatever you enjoy in life. And if that means doing a study where you learn about X, Y, Z, and I would literally think like, okay, like do whatever you want with it, because there's always a possibility that you can do something extraordinary with it, right? So when you think about a ton of people doing arts, like if they are really ambitious, they can become really sick artists and also like create life-changing things for people, or things that are worth millions. So I believe in every field there's that opportunity. But do I think that you should just learn whatever you want? Yes, you can do that. And can you do that online and not in the traditional educational system? I also agree with that. So do you necessarily have to go to university or to a like a higher school? I don't think so. And we also see that is kind of like fading away, but it doesn't take away the fact that people still struggle with learning things, managing their time, and dealing with procrastination. So that is where I think I will still be valuable in like a couple years or years from now, because people are still learning things and they're struggling with that because that's never been taught in schools.
How do people overcome procrastination? What do you teach your clients?
Yeah. All right. So now I'm going into my coaching mode, if that's okay.
Let's
for
go.
You for a second.
Let's hear some.
So actually what I learned from my mentor as well is that procrastination usually comes from a fear. Because if we look at the brain, like you have a fear center, the amygdala. And in the past, when we were hunting for mammoths and just gathering things, the only fears that we would have were survival. So these we call primal fears. And over time, so over years and years and years, we've created intellectual fears. So everything that is learned, okay, like a spider, you're afraid of a spider. Fear of failure because you failed something again. However, your brain does not know the difference between a primal fear and an intellectual fear. And a primal fear leads to like physical, it imagines physical pain or potential death. So that's when you feel like super stressed and super anxious, etc. So an intellectual fear, for example, fear of failure or fear of not being good enough, can create the same feelings as a primal fear. So that is first to understand. Then we have a couple of layers of fears, like fear of failure, fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough, fear of success, perfectionism can also be something that leads to procrastination. Why do I share this background? Because I need everyone to understand that this is the root cause of where it's coming from. So then when we look at how these fears develop and how they show up on a daily basis, it's something that we call a core belief paradigm, which means that you have a situation occurring. So let's say, you need to retake an exam. And then your belief system is, what kicks in? It's like everything that you've learned over the last few years about yourself, like, hey, maybe you start to believe like, me failing this, I'm not being smart enough, I'm not good enough. So the thought pattern kicks in. Then the thoughts create feelings. And that is usually then based on the fear, a feeling of stress, anxiety, overwhelmed, you name it, frustrated. And based on feelings, we take actions. So someone says, I need to feel motivated. I'm saying like, no, okay, let's go to your thoughts first. thoughts, feelings, then actions. Based on your actions or inactions, procrastination, because feeling stressed and anxious leads to procrastination, you're not getting the results that you want. And if you're not getting the results that you want, that has long-term negative or positive consequences. Are you following me so far?
Yeah.
So we can also flip that to the positive side, where it's like if I tell myself, hey, I might have a reset, but with Tom's experience and knowledge or Max's experience and knowledge, I have a higher chance of succeeding. Or I'm following a proven system, and if I do this step by step, I will see results. They can be a 60% or they can be a 90%, but I will see results. I will feel better. If you start saying these things to yourself, so you change your thoughts, you start to feel better. You feel encouraged, you feel empowered. And based on that, it's easier to take action. And if you then take action on a consistent basis with the right thoughts, you get better results. You get positive consequences. And then these consequences and these results start to reinforce your belief about yourself. And this is when you then start to beat procrastination. So I'm always been a person saying like, as long as I take action, I will succeed. And I can't fail if I don't quit. I just keep going until I have figured it out. And that like, you're taking action based off like excitement and curiosity. Yeah. And then you beat procrastination. Yeah, I'm wired in like action. I'm not wired into inaction. Of course, sometimes I have something and I'm like, oh, yeah, like this is difficult. I've never done this before. I'm not sure if it will work. And then I start talking to myself. I'm like, okay, but just imagine all the things that you did over the last 2 years. Look where you're like sitting now. Look at with the audience. Look at how many people you're helping. Just imagine if you let that voice took over back then. So I think understanding procrastination is not about, you don't need the time management skills. You don't need the business skills. You don't need the study skills. You need to work on your core belief system because then your identity changes on the things that you believe about yourself, and that changes the actions that you take. And that's the root cause of procrastination and how you would beat it.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
How about that for a clip?
Yeah.
For IG Reel clip. We're doing so much clipping now with the podcast. It's so sick. I actually think this is completely the topic change, but I actually think that that was the reason why that was one of the reasons why I started the podcast in the first place, because I just wanted the reels out of it. The very first podcast I did with a guest, with Alexander Waller, I think 1.5 years ago, we filmed it vertical. The cameras, we filmed them upright, just so we could cut the reels out of it. Yeah. Super funny. In this regard, with this change your belief system, have you ever messed with hypnosis?
No, I heard that you did it 2 weeks ago. I am a huge guy going into like spirituality a bit more, so I'm a huge believer of like doing breath work and then affirmations or like sharing positive phrases. I did a sweat lodge 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
But I've never done hypnosis, so I'm very curious about your
I recommend
your
it. We filmed the whole hypnosis session that Marcel Klein did on me. It's on my main channel, on the Max Tornow channel. It was like a 45-minute thing or something like that, or 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty intense, like super weird, super fucking weird. And I still think about it to this day, every day.
Yeah.
It happened a couple of months ago, and it really, I don't know how much of it is placebo, but then also, you read books like You Are the Placebo, one of the best books ever on that. I'm like, who fucking gives a shit if it's placebo or not? If it works, it works. The results are fucking real, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to know if hypnosis is real. The results are fucking real. The money is real. I'm making from it, so I don't care. But when you talked about changing your beliefs, like hypnosis is fucking crazy with that. It's fucking insane. It's really like, when I snap my fingers, you will realize that your belief system so far is now this, or like the belief system you've had so far is now changed to this.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, fuck. Like, what? I changed it.
That's funny.
It's really sick. I think like we can do so much with our mind that we are not aware yet.
Yep.
That there's so much stuff hidden. I just earlier for breakfast today, I watched a video about, there's this guy with 200 IQ. Have you heard of him? He starts popping up now on my feed on YouTube. This random guy. He looks like a construction worker.
Yeah.
But he has 200 IQ. He's like the smartest man alive right now. And the shit he talks about, he's like, yeah, I remember my birth. yeah, I'm conscious when I sleep, like shit like that. Oh yeah, like there's different dimensions. Like the way he talks about it, he's like, oh, it's only logical because this means that, and this means this, and that means ergo there can only be a different dimension, and it's so crazy. And one part that I heard from that video specifically was like, a lot of time, and this is also something that you said, when you have an off time, when you're not working in the business, when you have spare time, all of a sudden you get ideas.
Yeah.
Just your brain doesn't even actively work on it. It's you're like, whatever, you're doing the dishes and your brain's like, by the way, here's the solution to the problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? Fuck.
Yeah.
And I've noticed this too. It's almost like my mind is like my ultimate companion. I can rely on my mind so much. Mm-hmm. A big one for that was public speaking for me. I don't do as much public speaking anymore, but I would do these business events where I would be invited as a speaker, and they'd be like, yeah, you're going to be speaking for 45 minutes. Please submit your speech 2 weeks beforehand so we can get the PowerPoint ready and shit like that. And I would always ignore these emails. And then they would like email me more. Then they would start calling me like, yo, the event is like in 2 days. We need your speech. I'm like, I don't have a speech.
I will just...
And they're like, but what's the topic? I don't know. And they're like, you got to be kidding. You got to submit your speech. And then I would be at the event. I would be backstage. They would like wire me, right, with the camera, with the microphones, and the guy's like, where's your speech? Oh my God, what am I gonna, I don't have, and I'm like, dude, don't worry, I don't have any. And he's like, but what are you gonna talk about? I don't fucking know.
We'll figure out.
They would freak out. They're like, this can't be, the speaker doesn't know what he's gonna be, this is gonna be a catastrophe, we got 3,000 people in this like booked out fucking hall. I would literally, and I have so much confidence in my brain that I would go on stage, I would be introduced, people would applaud, I have the light on me, and I'm like,
let's go. Yeah.
And I would just pop into something.
Yeah.
I would just soak the energy up, and I'm like, I will know what I need to speak when I say the first word.
But that is from like, you believe that about yourself because you've done it so many times. Yeah. So like your consequences at any time, like, okay, people have a positive experience with that. And that's why you trust in yourself. That situation, public speaking event, your core belief is like, I will just, till a certain extent, wing it based on all of my knowledge and experience. Yeah. So you're just going to do the same thing. Yeah. If you would have had 1 or 2 bad experiences where people would leave the room and eventually not, I'll tell you like, hey, Max, this was absolute trash. Like you would start thinking to yourself as well, like, okay, like, oh, this might not have been my best performance. True. Which might then let you second guess whether you're doing a preparation or not.
That's a very good point. Yeah. That's a very good point. From years of just like crushing, I'm like, of course this is going to be sick. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Same with the podcast, right? Sometimes people ask me like, what do I need to prepare? I'm like, nothing. Just come. Yeah. You show up. And it's the same. Well, how long have we been talking now? What time is it? We've been talking for almost 2 hours now. Yeah. With zero plan.
Yeah, exactly.
I had like a rough couple ideas. I'm like, oh, cool, you're an expert. I want to ask you about that. But the rest was just like, fuck it. We've been talking for 2 hours, and theoretically we could do 2 more. We could just keep going forever. It doesn't matter. And it's all because I can rely on my brain, and you can rely on your brain to do the right thing because of the beliefs. It's a very good point. But anyways, what I wanted to get back to is like, same with like this whole stress and the fear that you mentioned earlier. It's just so spot on when you said, I resonate with that so hard. This whole idea of like, I have my track record of fixing unimaginably difficult problems has been 100%. And I tell this to my clients a lot too. They're building their first businesses, right? They make their first hire. They have their first high pressure situations. They got to close, right? This is all new shit that people are like freaking out about. And I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, tomorrow I have my first call, right? My first client call. Tomorrow I have my first sales call. Tomorrow I got to make my first hire. Like, oh, this month so far, it's whatever, the 17th, and I haven't made so much money yet, right? And I'm like, okay, what's your track record so far of surviving a problem? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, how many of the problems have killed you? How many of the problems have made you homeless? Have made you lose a limb? Have made you lose your life? 0. Okay, so your track record is 100%. Yeah. Right? Okay, so if I were a betting man, right, and I would bring you to a horse race where horses are racing, and I'll tell you there's a horse with a number 7. It has a track record of 100% winning. Would you bet on that horse? Well, fuck yeah, I would bet on that horse. Would you bet on your money on it? Fuck yeah. Right, that horse is you.
Is you, yeah.
That fucking horse is you.
I love that.
And that's really fucking beautiful. So And that now amplifies this idea of whenever I'm in a challenging situation, what am I going to do? I'm like, I'll figure it out. I've always figured it out every single fucking time.
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing is, to get back to that video that I watched. So they said, like, in that, you know, when you wake up and just before you're fully conscious, where you're slipping out of the dream state and you're into awake state. Sometimes you don't know where you are. You don't know what country you're in. You don't know what day of the week it is. Exactly that limbo in between. If you there make an effort to ask for a solution to a problem, to ask for inspiration, it will be given to you because your mind has been working on it in the background.
Yes.
And just the other day, it's funny because today I saw that video, but 3 days ago, I woke up and I was in that limbo state and I'm like, here's the solution to a problem. We had this like problem with like delivery that I wanted to make sure, like, I didn't know how I could deliver a certain aspect of our program in the most effective possible way. And I woke up and it was like a voice that literally said, why don't you do this? And I'm like, what? And I went to the bathroom and I washed my face. I'm like, the more I think about it, the more that makes sense.
That's it.
Instantly let my staff know.
Yeah.
And I just copy pasted that message. I'm like, here's the idea I just had. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah. And they're all like, holy shit, why don't we fucking, this is such a stupid, silly, why didn't we think about that?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. I think our mind is capable of much more than we think.
And if you want to, well, take this to the next level, it's like you have to understand that there's nothing as tempting to your mind as a question. So if you want to learn or solve any problem, ask as many questions about it because your brain will unconsciously think about the answer. It's the same principle as when you're watching like a television show and we ask each other, oh, what's the name of this actor again? Option one is that we grab our phone and like search it up, right? But if we weren't doing that because we're so into the show, then we go into our coffee or Coca-Cola break and grab some popcorn and then out of nowhere you open the fridge and like, oh yeah, it's Johnny Depp. Like that is because your brain is thinking about things and processing information without you consciously being aware about it. And this is also what learning is about. So I always tell my students, take your breaks, because in your breaks, your hippocampus, brain part responsible for learning and memorization, is processing information also 10 times faster than you would be studying something. So give yourself breaks. Allow your brain to rewire things. So I read a book. I will give you some nuggets on how I learn. So while I was in the plane, I was reading a book on how to teach anything, and it was telling about 5 pedagogy. I don't know.
Pedagogical.
Pedagogical.
Is that an audiobook? Can I get
principles? And the first 5 principles, I'm like, okay, right now I'm still recalling them. So I read this book yesterday. I know it's like constructive thinking, reflective thinking, application.
Is this one?
Wise. Yes, it's that one.
How to Teach Anything by Peter Hollins.
Yes.
I'm going to get it right now.
Exactly. And this is the way how I'm learning. So I'm reading things. I'm trying to recall it like a day later. I'm trying to recall it within an hour or so. And this is how your brain stops forgetting things faster, etc., etc. So yeah, like I said, right now I remember 3 out of the 5. If I would probably, inquiry situation, so that's 4.
Boom.
And then we're almost at 5. So I'm at like 80%, right?
Yeah.
But if I weren't revising this for like a week, I will most likely forget 100% about it. So this is where you do need to have like a system, challenge yourself, ask yourself questions like, what are the 5 steps? Or what does the ideal sales process look like? Or what would be the sequence before someone hops on a call with me?
Yeah.
What are the things I need them to see to build trust, to build authority? And then your brain starts to think about them. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to send email reminders. I need to send text reminders. Oh, maybe I also do like a 5-minute short VSL telling about my experience and showing the students or the potential clients what I've accomplished with other people. Oh, what is then important? Mention that you've experienced working with people with ADHD. Mention that you've worked with people who are struggling with working and studying, because then you're talking to them directly.
Yeah.
Like if you ask yourself these questions, your brain will find the answers based on all your experience and knowledge that you have.
How much of knowledge retention for you is writing things down? I have a notepad for everything. When I hear a nice value nugget in a book or in a podcast, I write it down.
Yeah.
when I want to remind myself of something like, oh, I just had an idea. I need to ask my coach about da-da-da-da. I write it down because I don't want to rely on me remembering it. It's more like, for me, it's more like a control mechanism.
You're cognitively deloading your brain.
Exactly. That's exactly the word.
And that is beneficial.
Okay, good.
Because it's like, if you don't, like, this is more, you don't want to learn this, right? You want this nugget to be top of mind somewhere.
Exactly.
If you really want to learn it, you should indeed write it down, question yourself about it 1 hour later, 1 day later, 1 week later, to prevent it from forgetting. But if it's something important, we call this more like second brain concept, where it's like, hey, you have a notebook, you have a notes pad on your phone, you have a Word document, you have a Trello board, you name it, where you store important information such that you can go back to it easily. If you really need to memorize something by heart, then indeed you have to ask yourself specific questions about this.
Yeah.
So what was the main takeaway from this book?
Yeah.
What were the 5 steps that he mentioned? And that's when you then start to actively recall information.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you strengthen the pathways.
Do you think you've probably heard of Neuralink, right?
Yeah.
Where they're connecting your brain with like a wire, and dude, it's been pretty sick. So the first guy that they tested this with, he's paraplegic. Have you seen that guy?
No. Like, again, I think you misunderstand how little time I spend on social media. Like, I just spend no time on YouTube, no time on Instagram. Like, dude, I don't see anything.
It's insane. But it is really insane. I commend you staying away from a lot of that shit, but this is really insane. So the whole idea is that it creates a brain interface for you. So the first guy that they tested on, amongst the first people, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. And he's like, oh yeah, I played video games. Can't move his fucking fingers, can't move his arms, right? He's in a paraplegic wheelchair where he steers it with his chin and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, they hooked my brain up to video game. And the funny thing is, the first time he just played 12 hours straight. Yeah. He's like, they're like, hey, do you want a break? He's like, fuck off. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm fucking playing. And here's the crazy thing. So, and now you can see how much I actually think that in the future, everything we do will be regarded as like clunky and dumb, because the way he did it with his brain is, he doesn't need to send a signal from his brain to his arm, from an arm to his fingers, and then from his finger to the mouse to click. He just basically commands with his brain, click on this icon, click here. So he did strategy games. So he would just tell the strategy game, build a house here, go build a road here, go create units here, and then they hooked him up to a first-person shooter. And he's way faster reaction times, because again, he doesn't need to send a signal to his limbs. He's like, shoot over there, reload, shoot this guy, shoot that guy, shoot that guy, and he just instantly hits everybody, because there's no haptic feedback, right? The whole idea about aiming is like, if you got to move the mouse precisely so you hit the target. He doesn't need to do that. He's like, go hit this fucking target, and he hits it perfectly. Fucking headshot.
That's funny.
And here's the crazy part. So eventually, there's going to be the first guy. So first they're going to roll out Neuralink for people that can't move, right? They're going to help people that have diseases, they're paraplegic, etc. And then there's going to be a guy who's like, I'm a business owner. Give me this. Yeah. I'm going to use Neuralink now. And they're like, okay, sure, here it is. And he's like, okay. So instead of me having to fucking type with a fucking thumbs like a fucking monkey. Yeah. Hello, come to podcast. I'm just going to be like, I just message you like this. Yes. I'm just like, message Tom. You want to come to the podcast? Yeah. And it's like, oh, within 10 minutes, I did all my work. Because there's no typing. There's just communicating. Now, here's the crazy thing. Now, let's say he's like, okay, you know what? Let me have my 3 most senior staff link up with Neuralink. And we're going to be in a room and we're going to discuss the next quarter, the next fiscal year, the next marketing move. So instead of clunkily forming sounds with our stupid mouths, where I'm trying to articulate my idea so it makes sense to you. Yeah. So my brain goes from thought to articulation to physical pronunciation of that thought, then to traveling through space to your ear, to processing it, to processing it in your brain, then you thinking how to respond, to articulating it and back. That's so much time. And now you do that with 3 people instead of 2. So now it's even longer because now everybody has their input. So instead you just sit in a room and you're like, and every snap is just a thought back and forth, bam, 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 bam. So now the problem is they're like, cool, we just, instead of taking 2 weeks of negotiation, it took us half an hour.
Exactly.
So now you're like, okay, but I don't want to have a fucking wire in my brain. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
If I hook that up to the internet, people can literally access my brain. They can hack my body, theoretically. I don't know if that's possible, but you know. But so now the thing is like, okay, I don't want to have this fucking Neuralink. Okay, you know what? Don't worry about it. But, you know, Tom, there's this other guy that is a study coach. James, the study coach, and he uses fucking Neuralink. And you know what? Because he uses Neuralink, he makes the same type of content that you do over a 90-minute block. He does it in 9 minutes. He does his sales calls with Neuralink. He closes more. He creates more content. He's outperforming you. So you're like, well, fuck, I kind of got to get the fucking Neuralink as well.
Yeah.
So now, over time, you gotta have a fucking Neuralink. It's just kind of like, how many people do you know with a flip phone nowadays? Not many. None. Because how long does it take you to write a fucking email on a stupid flip phone?
1, 2, 3 for the
C.
You're an idiot. 1, 2 for the E.
You're an idiot if you do it like that. So it's gonna become a necessity.
Yeah.
The moment this thing is accessible to a broad public, people don't give a fuck if you're gonna not want to have a wire in your brain. They're like, you don't have to, but have fun being fucking broke and slow and being ostracized by all your buddies that are sending each other memes at the fucking Neuralink.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, did you see the meme? Yeah. Oh, well, John doesn't have Neuralink. Let's send it on WhatsApp. Okay, let me grab it with my monkey arm and type it into the thing so he has it. By the way, one of the cameras turned out. Can we make sure the camera...
We have 1 minute on the clocky there, so...
Oh, how do you... What happens after that? Do we explode? We can keep going.
we can keep going. What happens? Do we explode? Like...
Man, how long have we been talking? I told you 2 hours goes by so fast, dude.
Fast.
It's so fast.
It's insane. It's insane. And also, like, as you mentioned, like, when you invited, well, I responded on one of your texts, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty confident that when you said 2 hours, I'm like, easy. You know, like, if you're on the same kind of like in the same field, you have the same interest, like, conversations will flow. And they went everywhere. We started with like video gaming. After that, we talked about ADHD, procrastination, but we also talked about like business things. We talked about AI. Like, it's crazy how much you can cover also in a 2 hour period. So yeah, I think it's pretty insane. And I want to. Well, if we're like rounding up, also,
dude, we have infinite time.
Oh, infinite time. Yeah, like I was so curious because I just wanted to rig your brain on this one question, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, we can automate a bunch of things, but my sole belief about like running business is, for me, it's like the personal connection, and where I'm talking with my students. Like, I asked you in the cab, like, would you say automate do things, or do have like the 15-minute call, then the 45-minute call with students to build trust, to just a business question more, to build trust, to build the authority, and then see how you move forward from there?
I never shy back from going the extra mile, whether it's with a person that has already paid me, or a person that is just a prospect, or even a person that just fucking asked me for free advice. If I have it, I'll do it. Now, it could be that you catch me at a period of my life where I'm like launching 3 new things and someone asks me for free advice. Like, hey man, you need free advice? I'm like, look, ask me in fucking 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not right now. I can be very aggressive with protecting my time. But other than that, it's exactly like you said. It's exactly like you're doing with your students as well. It's like Christmas, for example. Last Christmas, at one client, they're from Asia, so they didn't celebrate Christmas. And she was like, she had this problem in her business. It's fucking I love Christmas, okay? I'm a sucker for Christmas. My favorite day of the year. I was there with family and everything. And she had an urgent problem. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk outside now. I'm going to tell my family I want to walk outside, catch some fresh air. I'm going to hop on a call for 15 minutes and I'll help you fix the fucking problem. Yeah. So is that economically viable? No. Do I get paid for these 15 minutes 10 times more? No, I didn't get paid at all. But it's viable in terms of karma. It's viable in terms of trust with your client. Like, that client will fucking remember.
Exactly.
Max didn't give a shit. He helped me in these fucking 15 minutes. So I think that is way more worth than the 15 minutes you invest in it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the picture they picture about you when they had a conversation with either you or your business. So, yeah.
And one other thing I want to add to that is because you mentioned automation. I'm a huge fan of automation. And it's similar with the Neuralink that I said, is if you say, oh, I'm not going to automate, the motherfucker who will automate will overtake you. But, and here's the most important point, automation should always feel like an upgrade to the client, then an exchange, then a switching of things, then a pay like a payoff. Yeah. It should not feel like that. It should feel like an upgrade. So what we're doing, for example, right now is we're working on a chat support AI. It's really sick. It's actually relatively simply explained. You can create an AI system that automatically transcribes your entire video course. We got like 600 videos over all of our video courses. And it transcribes that, it builds a database. And then on the front end, there's a chat window. So you can say, hey, Mr. AI coach, I have a Facebook ads ROAS of 3.4 right now. What should I do next? And then the AI coach then looks at the information that it has from the video transcripts and it gives the correct answer. Yeah. Now, the first thing some people tell me is like, holy shit, you can fire all your coaches now, right? And now people just chat with an AI chatbot. Sure, I could, but then I'm thinking about like, okay, but if I buy from me, if I'm Max Tornow's client and I'm paying multiple $1,000s, I pay not only to get the information, not only to get the information quickly by chatting with someone or something, but I also pay because I'll have a fucking human there on a Zoom call.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna fire the coach or any sort of coach because they still have a human connection with my clients. I still want people to hop on Zoom calls with me, with anyone. Yeah. But I will add the chat AI bot feature on top of that as a feature.
Increase value.
Exactly.
Reduce cost for feedback.
Exactly. So if you're awake at 3 a.m. in the morning and you have a question and I'm asleep, or your one-on-one, you ask the fucking chatbot. Ask it on top of it. Yeah. And if you then want to hop on a Zoom call and discuss it, we're here for you. Yeah. So I think that's also ultimately how you win. Just like we're in the studio here, and like they said, like, oh, we had a decision between going all in and making the studio super epic and destroy everybody else who does it, or not doing it. It's your responsibility to always do the extra thing, the small, tiny, stupid 1% that the other person is too good to do, that your competition doesn't want to do because it doesn't pay them well enough. That it accumulates. It's death by 1,000 cuts for your competition. If I go the extra mile to have a 15-minute call on fucking Christmas and my competitor doesn't, that's the 0.01% that is going to give me the edge over them. And if I do 10,000 of these things over a year, these 0.01% all fucking accumulate.
Yeah, exactly. And then it becomes compounding effect.
Yeah.
So what I mentioned more about these 15-minute calls, it was in the enrollment process. So indeed, when I have new students, so and indeed, like I've been doing this for the last few weeks, and we've seen massive increase in students signing up. Also, students taking the step to talk with their parents that they need this or that they want to make this investment. And then as soon as we start to picture that, like, just indeed, like, we're not some kind of like mathematical tutors that I'm going to teach you what is 1 + 1. I'm going to tell you indeed how your brain works, how you're going to structure your life better, and how to deal with procrastination, which is almost a new pandemic. So your child is going to benefit from it
100%.
Their whole life,
100%.
In their work, in their business, in their studies, whatever. So that's when the parents also start to see like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually super helpful. So super happy that we're making that progress. Still doesn't take away, and this was one thing that I wanted to share indeed with your audience. It doesn't take away that if you have a niche where it's potentially indeed people who, everybody assumes students have low buying power.
I was going to say,
that you can still crush it, because as I said, my ideal client right now is 29, studying and working on the side. So that means they have more buying power. The ones that are trying to fund the coaching programs themselves, they can always find like a parent or a caretaker, or I even had students had financial support from their university to take my coaching programs. So there's like way more opportunities, and this is where I want to encourage anybody watching and indeed starting a business. Like, if you just keep asking yourself the questions on how to figure it out, you will figure it out, and then you can A, do more of what you love, B, indeed make more money with the coaching programs that you do, and then C, scale this and don't rely on like a huge audience with a low ticket program, because that's not going to sell for shit unless you know how to do ClickFunnels properly and sell something properly. But yeah, that like I've spent almost 8 months grinding like 12 hours a day on Instagram, sending all the messages, going on the phone calls. I had like 30, almost 23 no sales calls in a row.
Wow.
But I just kept going, and I said to myself, like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm just going to figure it out. One person will do it. And that led to, boom, the increase on Instagram. Now way more clients and students that I'm actually helping. So just some inspiration. Like, if a 26-year-old can do it with a student audience that don't have a lot of money, then you as well, with your fitness offer or your coaching business or your piano. I see you're teaching people how to do piano classes or create music production. You can do it as well. And kind of like wanted to share that because,
dude, 100%.
It's insane, because I talk to so many people in the study niche as well. Like, there's creators who have 1 million to 5 million subscribers, but they find it difficult to sell like a $60 product because it's like, the students don't see the value, or they don't even have the personal support. Yeah. And that's where you need to ask, like, hey, how am I going to differentiate from my competition? And I think right now, almost on Instagram, in kind of like a one-person position. Like, I don't know anyone personally, and I know a lot of them because I've been texting with them and calling with them as well, that offer a same kind of like coaching program as I do for people indeed in the situation with the learning, the time management, and the procrastination. So that is super cool, but I wish that they listen to this as well and then think like, okay, I need to do something different, more high ticket, more personal support, such that they can monetize their audiences. With
the high ticket thing, so that's a great way to stand out in terms of pricing. Just start at the pricing level and be like, you know what, you're not going to get a $60 bullshit program from me. You're going to get real hands-on, one-on-one help. I'm going above and beyond as you do, and it's for a high ticket price. How do you, that's what you do on the pricing and the program level. How do you differentiate yourself on the content level to ensure that you're getting the right kind of people watching your stuff, or at least enough of them?
Yeah, like I said, like, we have so many people watching the stuff, then the challenge becomes indeed finding the right people who also want to get into your coaching programs. So I think what I share on my Instagram and my content is not too much different from what the other people share. I think where I do differentiate is that I would say I actually understand a lot about what I'm talking about, because I'm a nerd in this field, and like I'm reading these books about it on a regular basis. So I'm continuously learning about it, which I can then share. Where I also know that a lot of people are jumping the trends and they just share like these tips and tricks, but actually they don't know anything about behind the science about this. And again, saying I'm not a neuroscientist, so maybe in like 2 or 3 years I'm doing a psychology study to even learn more about it.
Sick idea, actually.
And then to come back to your question, how do I differentiate there? Is like I'm one of the few who actually indeed is like texting with people in the DMs, solving their problems, sharing free guides, sharing free content, and then actually offering them a call as well and be like, hey, if you're struggling with this, you don't have to do this alone. I'm here helping like 30 people in the same situation as you. So if you want this, then I'm your guy. Like, here's the track record. Here's the people that we helped. Decide yes or no.
How did you then blow up your account? Was there certain, let me check, was there certain reels that blew up, made you go viral, that are responsible?
You'll have to scroll back really far. But long story short, like, I think at the time that I started, I was also watching your content, and I remember that you were a huge fan of the 20-30 second talking videos.
Amen, yeah.
I tried that, and it didn't work for my audience. So this is where everybody in my coaching cohort was trying to do these videos.
The talking head videos,
and they weren't getting any traction. So then I said, like, hey, let me look around. What do other people do? And create more similar content to that. Then I called a friend of mine who's good with video editing, and I said, hey, if I buy this course for you where you learn how to create 7 to 10 second short form
like
videos,
this one here, 1.6 million views,
then nice. Can you do that for me? He said, like, yeah, I would love that. After 1 month, we started to get traction. Videos were getting 6 to 7 million views. And then we racked up like 30 to 40,000 followers from some individual videos. So not every video is going viral, but some of them right now, the super basic ones, me working, 2 templates that students can use, 7 million views, 40,000 new followers.
Sick.
Huge shares, like a lot of freebies giving away. And then that compounds over time as well, right?
Yeah, the freebies is huge, yeah.
Yeah,
that's still what you're differentiating between the 30-second talking head and the 7 seconds just with words
anymore. On it. I don't know how far you are, but I did that. Right now, I just moved to YouTube, and I'm like, hey, if people want to see more of what I have to share with them, and actually let me explain what really procrastination is.
Yeah,
go to my YouTube channel for a 10-minute video.
Yeah, where you go deeper in there,
and I will explain it. Because like watching the 7-second video, it's not going to solve your life. It's just going to give that quick insight and be like, oh, okay, yeah, actually I've never thought about it. Boom, next video, dancing cat. You know, like
true.
Yeah. So
no, these are great, man. This is exactly the kind of shit that I tell people to do. Don't overestimate. It depends what niche you're in. Exactly what you say.
Yeah.
So for some people, especially when they're good on camera, they can do talking head videos, but they're not going to push them into new audiences much. These are so simple to make.
This one, a couple million views, 100,000 likes.
This is literally just you
working. Yeah, maybe show the
fast
camera.
Forward clip. Yeah, fast forward clip into the fast forward clip, and then just some words on it.
Read the caption, and then in the caption, I don't know if this one got a lot of replies. I think it does. But then there's this call to
17,000. That's pretty good.
17,000, yeah. Right? Like that is 8,000 is our replies, the automatic replies. But that means 8,000 people commented on this to get my free study guide.
That's 8,000 emails if you have an email capture in there. 8,000 DMs that you sent free shit.
Exactly.
8,000 times the Google Pixel fired to retarget them.
Just reminder, like it took me 8 months of spending 12 hours a day on Instagram doing the manual chatting, doing the posting, the grind. And like the grind that you did when you were in like 2016, 15, I don't know, but it's part of the thing.
It is, but dude, it's super sick to see what you've built so quickly. It's super sick that behind the big brand, there's not just a guy who's like, oh, to make some money, but you clearly live what you teach. You're nerding out on it. You clearly into this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you're into that. Like, I'm in the business and content creation with AI. You're into that. So it's very much something that consumes your mind, your daily basis. And there's no better way for a human being to learn from someone like that than this. Because if you're 100% committed, if you think about this in your spare time, if you love what you do, you obviously excel at it and people can profit from that.
Exactly.
I've seen this with so many guests that I've had on in all kinds of different fields: race car driving, hypnosis, content creation, business, management, like all kinds of shit. And you're very much in that lane. And I also think, you might not, you're probably aware of it already, but like the stuff you teach changes people's lives for generations to come. Yeah. Like the guy that is in your coaching right now that has grown up as a kid believing he's a fucking idiot, believing he's dumb, believing he's not good enough, he's going to learn that he is good enough, that he is fucking smart, that he can excel. He's going to pass that on to his kids. Instead of passing on to his kids that the belief that their dad is a loser and now they're going to be a loser and they're going to be a garbage truck driver for the rest of their life. Garbage truck drivers, I think they get paid pretty well. But what I'm saying is, like, he's now passing on a different belief to an entire fucking generation of kids, and then their kids, and then their kids. That's Absolutely. Because they bought from you.
Like, I've never thought about it that way, but I'm already having clients that say, like, hey, Tom, I'm showing your content to my kids who are in high school or like in primary school. So I'm like, okay, amazing. The fact that I'm getting paid for it still often like drives me insane because it's like, okay, I'm just absolutely doing what I love. I'm working really hard to actually make it work. And the fact that I now indeed am in a position to fly to Vienna to also like do that kind of things. I'm like, yeah, this was what I was thinking about when I started this, because for your idea, I was working a full-time consulting job. And then I decided to quit that with like 0 clients, zero income. And then I did the grind. I had 8 months of savings. I was down to like my last 3,000 on my name-ish. And then it started to work, started people to sign up, and then we just kept growing from there. So,
damn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
My man.
Yep.
Well, dude, I've learned a shit ton of talking to you, literally. The last 2 hours, I always say I think I'm the guy who learns the most on my podcasts. I'm going to literally write a bunch of notes down right after this. It's been super pleasure to have you on. How can people find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah, sweet. Good question. At the study coach _study coach. Name Tom Joris Vorselen, Tom Vorselen on YouTube, etc. So I want my brand name to be the study coach.
Love it.
So that everybody thinks about me when they need a study coach.
Excellent.
So
you even got the username on Instagram.
Yeah.
How was that not taken yet?
The study coach without the underscore was taken.
Who's that? Fuck that guy.
I don't know. He had like 500 followers or something like that. So I was like, I'm just going to create my own my own brand.
Some guy who posted last time in September 2024.
Yeah.
Dude, so, we should reach out to that guy and buy him off. Like, hey, I'll give you $500 if you give me your username.
I'm happy with the username because it creates like a bit of a pause, and then it's easier to read.
Yeah.
So I think that that helps.
Good point.
But yeah, that's how people can find me. I'm working one-on-one, working in group settings. Yes, everything we do is workshop-based, coaching call-based, personal tailored. So that's what we do. And yeah, if people have kids that are struggling, like,
Bring them in.
Yeah.
Bring them in. We're going to put all the links down in the description, of course, below. Sweet. For people who could not understand your Dutch pronunciation of your name. Say it again.
Tom Vorselen.
I have no idea how the...
Vorselen.
Vorselen is V-O-R.
Dus ik kan doch auf Deutsch proberen.
Ja, wir können auch auf Deutsch. Ja, machen wir jetzt auf Deutsch im Podcast jetzt am Start hier. It's been a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thanks again for going into my request. And like I said, like in a couple of years from now, I just hope to be a big person in the space. So then, like in 5 years from now, you're going to hear back from me, like, hey, I've been invited to there, and there, because of this. So I appreciate it.
Let's do it,
Thanks
man.
for giving me the opportunity.
Hell yeah. Amen to that. Cheers, folks.
On this podcast, I talk to a lot of great entrepreneurs, big brands, and people that are absolutely crushing it in their fields. If you want to work with me one-on-one to help you start your business, scale your business, automate your business, use AI to make money online, even if you've never done anything like this before, then go ahead and use the link down in the description below to apply to work with me directly and my team. We're going to be working with you one-on-one. We're going to help you make a ton of money. We're going to help you automate your business. Whatever it is that you want to be doing or that you are doing already, we can probably help you. If you're making less than $500,000 a month, you want to get to that level, we can probably help you. So link down in the description below. Thank you so much for listening / watching and being part of the Max Tornow Podcast crew. I appreciate the hell out of you, and talk soon.